pull up a chair. This is Off the Back Porch. Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer is brought to you in part by Country Village Sporting Goods. Everything you need to get in the woods, the water, or to the camp is at Country Village Sporting Goods. Jason Hardy State Farm. Like a good neighbor, Jason Hardy at State Farm is there. And Larry's Pizza in El Dorado, home of the Double Pizza Parade.
20 plus years of bringing you the most important and latest information with local happenings, news, sports, opinions, and probably an attempt at humor. Also brought to you in part by Davis Farms Country Market. For farm to table fresh, it's Davis Farms Country Market. Cook's Body Shop. Chances are it will happen. And when it does, look to Cook's. Murphy Arts District. For the latest information on concerts and events, go to eldomad.com.
Recorded live from Main Street Pizza in historic, beautiful downtown El Dorado, Arkansas. With a history of being the voices you trust. This is Off the Back Porch with Boomer and Sandy. Or Sandy and Boomer. Or two old guys you've known for a long time, whatever. And now your hosts, Troy, Boomer, Barrios, and B.A. Sandy Sanford.
Thank you, Johnny Dean, and welcome to another edition of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. Boomer, let me ask you this first of all.
All right.
Do you have at least an hour? Am I going to bother you if I keep you more than an hour?
Well, I got a tight schedule, but, I'm good for a couple of hours, actually.
Are you sure?
If you'd like.
When you get ready to leave, am I going to hear you say something about, I didn't want to talk to you for an hour?
Okay, I got you. You're going to have to tell them what you're talking about.
So the other day I called Boomer on the phone. He's in Houston, and we're talking, and we're just talking.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I'm like, all right, man, look, I'm going to let you go. And he's like, okay. And as we're hanging up, I hear him say, I didn't want to talk to you for an hour.
I said, I don't want to talk for an hour. And I went, oh, no.
It wasn't on the bingo card that day?
I texted him real quick, and I said, well, I'm sorry that I took up so much of your precious time, but thank you for donating a little of it to this old man.
Thank you so much for your time.
I was down there at a dog trial, and those tend to start real early and last till dark or better. So I'd already had my gown on already, and I'm laying in. Of course, in a hotel room, that's all you can do is lay down or stand up. And so, yeah.
A dog trial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guilty or not?
Oh, I got you. No, it's pass or fail.
I didn't know exactly what a dog trial was.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's no jury.
I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I texted him. I was like, thanks for putting up with me for an hour.
I said, oh, did you hear
next day he texted me back and said, you weren't supposed to hear that.
I'm sorry. Did you hear that? You weren't supposed to hear that.
That's how your friends talk to you, right?
Exactly, yeah.
I have two best friends in this world, and they both probably say the same thing every time we hang up. They didn't want to talk to you for an hour. So,
when is he ever going to quit?
Well, I seem to remember you talking as much as me, but okay.
Yeah, okay, I do. Yeah.
So again, welcome to another edition of Off the Back Porch. We're so glad that you're here with us. Welcome our special guest, Mark Givens, with us today. Mark, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. This is great. It's always good. It's been a long time since I've been in Main Street Pizza, so we got some food, and a lot of good memories here. A lot of good memories here.
When I told him where we're meeting, he's like, I'm in.
As long as there's some armadillo eggs.
That's what he said, as long as there's armadillo eggs.
Yeah, that's it. Man, they're known for them.
And we have plenty,
Yeah, there's still plenty over there. And so, we'll talk about this in a moment, but last night were the elections here locally. Yep. A lot of stuff to cover there. But, Boomer, I thought we'd start with this letter from one of our viewers.
Already? We got to lead with this?
It's the only one I've got this week.
Okay.
Dear Sandy and Boomer, I'm a millennial, and I watch your podcast a lot. Frankly, I'm still trying to figure out what's so great about being Gen X. To hear y'all tell it, you spent your entire childhood being neglected, except for those times when you were being abused by those sweet old people I call my grandparents, Jeremy and Texarkana.
That's your story.
Well, Jeremy,
he may need a hug.
Yeah, right. A safe space. Those sweet old people you talk about, those are not the same people that we grew up with. Those sweet old people were the ones who used to lock us in a car with the windows up while they smoked.
Yeah.
And no seatbelts. If Daddy's arm wasn't enough to keep you from going through the windshield, then by gosh, Skippy, you're not meant to go to the 4th grade.
If the monkey bars get you, that was, that's a planned event.
And we didn't call it abuse.
No.
We were being whipped because from the time we got up to the time we went to bed, we were outside, and we were having rock fights and dirt clod wars and BB gun fights and my favorite Roman candle fights.
Well, or bottle rocket,
Bottle rocket
we
fights.
We used to have bottle rocket wars.
Hey, and by
if
the
you
way,
could get one to blow up on your buddy's back, that was
yes.
You throw it and hopefully it'd
and
blow up.
We
on
either playing those or trying to get the little girl from 2 streets over to play doctor.
Oh,
So that's
a whole nother show.
Segment.
Yeah,
that's why we got whipped. It wasn't abuse.
Yeah.
We deserved most of the whippings we got.
Well, I didn't get many, and the reason being is that they work.
That's right.
They worked.
It's amazing how that works out like that. And then, but in those dirt clod wars and rock fights and BB gun fights, don't you dare get hurt because you're not going to the hospital.
No.
There was
you wouldn't. If your buddy threw a rock and hit you, and you started crying, everybody said, "Oh, come on, man up! Quit crying, you little baby." That's what would happen.
I literally broke my arm one year when I was like 10.
In a rock fight?
No.
Oh.
Broke my arm and was told to sleep with it between 2 phone books.
Well, of course.
Did you have to tape them up?
Yes. Tape 2 phone books around my arm.
Did you wear it to school the next day?
No,
Your splint?
no.
Just one night would make
No, it was every night, but I just did it at night.
Okay.
And God forbid if you actually did end up going to the hospital.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you happen to know that would have been the year we were going to go to Disney, but Sandy had to go and break his arm
Just ruined everything.
by cleaning off the neighbor's 2-story house roof over there. But yeah, we couldn't go to Disney that year, and we got in trouble at school too. Mm-hmm. But did anyone ever consider maybe because we were eating our lunch out of a lunchbox that was more rust than paint, and the paint that was there was lead paint?
Sure, I had a Fall Guy. And I found it. I had a Fall Guy
I had Dukes of Hazzard,
lunchbox, and I found it.
See, it was
years
my
back.
generation that sent y'all like that. So
Yeah.
I can attest to all that.
We didn't have Ticketmaster. If there was a show you really wanted to go see at 11 or 12 years old, you just had to camp out for 3 days in front of the Astrodome
in line
and wait for them
get
to
tickets.
start selling tickets. And you get up there and you buy your 2 tickets for $14 to go see Iron Maiden, and not that specifically showed I went to Iron Maiden and Fast
I didn't know you were the Iron Maiden
and
type,
Uriah's
Sandy.
Heep.
Uriah's Heep.
Uriah's Heep, yeah.
Yeah, I bought 2 tickets and they were $14 for both of them.
That's 2 tickets to paradise right there.
Yeah, that's Eddie money.
That's 2 tickets to paradise.
But
He probably played the Dome too.
I remember getting them. I was like, yes. And now there's people, they buy 1,000 of them at a time, and then
Online,
they
yeah.
resell them and all.
Yeah.
But
there was a kid yesterday that got his lunchbox open, and a lot of the drinks in cans now all look alike. Mm-hmm. And Mama thought she was putting in some juice or something, and it wound up being a lemon martini or whatever. And of course the kid didn't drink it, but she was taking some real abuse from the school.
man, look. How old was this kid?
I was like 8.
Yeah, so that's about the time to start.
Yeah, drink
That's about-
it.
yeah.
It's about when I started.
Yeah.
It's when I started chewing tobacco
Chewing
when I was 8
tobacco,
years
I
old.
know, yeah.
So Jeremy, I don't know that I've ever said Gen X was better.
It was just the way it was. We're just explaining the way it was.
We're just not the same.
Yeah.
You need to understand that.
Yeah.
We are not the same.
Yeah.
So, Mark, what's been going on in your life, man?
Gosh, just living, trying to live as much as I can day to day, stay in the same routine, and
you look good.
You
You look like you're taking care of yourself.
Well, I don't know about looks; that's subjective, but I feel good. I know with 100% that I feel good.
Yeah.
And so, just hitting the gym, have been for a couple, on a good routine, and me and my buddy Mike Lescano, we hit it every day, and anyway, I feel good. So the rest of it, that's subjective, but I feel good. I just want to feel good.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
But you looked bad.
Well,
That's an old joke. Sorry, we won't go there.
So you now, when you left South Arkansas, you moved to Nashville. Is that right?
I was in Nashville with Red 11 Music, which was a talent agency, and then of course a friend of mine that I'd known for 25 years. He owned Red 11. He was very established in Nashville, and then he ended up, after the pandemic, he sold to William Morris Endeavors, in which then they made John a partner. So it worked out well for him. So at the time with Red 11, we had an office in Nashville and then one in Austin. And so at that time, probably our top drawing acts were Turnpike Troubadours, Cody Johnson was just really starting to make, get a lot of traction. And then some of the younger acts. We had a roster for maybe 40 acts, 30 to 40. But a young, this is 2019, so Coe Wetzel was just starting to get out of Texas. And Charlie Crockett, and then we had some established acts, legacy acts like Steve Warner and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I was there in the pandemic, and then everything just went to
then
and then all of a sudden when you have a roster of 30, 40 acts that are touring continuously, it just stopped.
Yeah, but that now can't get a show.
Everything just came to a stop. So anyway, back in Arkansas. So happy to be here. But
now, recently you've been doing some work with Netflix.
Well, no, I was in a film. I stumbled upon being in a film, The Iron Claw, which was I filmed my part, and now this is a whole nother story. I say my part. It stumbled upon it like most things in my life, but in December of 22, and then it was released in December of 23, and then it started on Netflix. It streamed on Max for a while, which it was an A24 film. Max had the entire A24 catalog, and then it started streaming on Netflix last week.
And of course, when you say Iron Claw, the first thing that comes to my mind is Fritz von Erich.
Fritz von Erich. And so here's how, in which we can go back and talk about the old wrestling, how I got into the wrestling business years ago. But and so I'd met Ross and Marshall von Erich years back, and actually had them here in El Dorado in 2018. So I'd met them at AT&T Stadium, actually, and so I was aware that there was a film in the works, and so then kept up with it from a distance. And so when I saw that they were filming in Baton Rouge, I called a friend, Ty Brommel, who was on the Louisiana Film Commission, and all I wanted to do was go down and maybe be on set to watch them filming. And because of my connection with Skandar Akbar, and then I had met Kevin von Erich a few times, so that was my interest. And he said, "Man, email me, the whole thing you told me about your connections or whatever, and then I'll see what I can do, and maybe we can go on set one day." And so I did. Well, next thing you know, I get an email from this casting agency in New Orleans, Caballero Casting, and was like, "Hey, we got this email, and there's 4 scenes you could do. One would be you would have a line, and it's with Jeremy Allen White, who at that time I didn't know who that was." And so I'm reading this email, and I'm like, they think I'm a actor. And so I called my buddy Ty, and I'm like, "Man, I think somebody got their wires crossed." And he's like, "Go with it." And so I did. I'm like, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, it was, if the scene is used, you will get a credit and this and that. And it's going to pay you this much. So basically, I was a background actor that was going to have a line. But I knew from day one that if it was used.
Yeah.
And so then I'm in the background of a few other scenes. And so I get to Baton Rouge on the scheduled day and get on set and that whole ball of wax. And then get into catering, and the first person I ran into was Chavo Guerrero. Chavo Guerrero Sr.'s son, who was also in El Dorado. I had him here in 2018 at that last wrestling show I did. So it's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like,
Not
"I'm
sure.
working."
Don't know.
I'm working. And then James Beard walked in, and he was in his referee. So he'd ref for me for years, and went back to the world class days. And so then I'm like, "Oh, wait, this is
all your people.
This is for real." I knew some people.
Yeah.
And then so then they took us to the this abandoned warehouse where they had set up to look like the old Sportatorium in Dallas, where the heyday of World Class and the Von Erichs, and walked in. And so there's also guys that I'd known, Brady Pierce and Silas Mason. They're in the ring as the Freebirds. It's Terry Gordy and Michael Hayes.
Yeah.
And it's Smokey
Michael
in there.
P.S. Hayes.
Michael P.S. Hayes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa! It was like walking into the Sportatorium in Dallas, and so I got to. I was there. Was supposed to be there 4 days and work 3. I was there 3 days and work 2. There was a big. Everybody got food poison on the 3rd day.
Oh, no.
And so I was there 12-hour days, and so in the scenes in the ring was Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White and everything. So there's a lot of downtime, and so. Because I had connections with James and Chavo and stuff, I was able to kind of sit in this back room with Efron
Yeah,
and those
the
guys
stars, yeah.
who are in their tights and they're constantly staying, they're exercising and lifting because they're, going to shoot again. And so, but then the scene that I did film with Jeremy Allen White ended up not getting used. And so I knew this because when it opened, I'm in the theater, and so on paper, I'm bike dealer. And so now I weighed 300 pounds and had a full beard and long hair. So I'm bike dealer. So I sell Kerry, Jeremy Allen White, the motorcycle that he crashes and then had part of his foot amputated. So I'm in the theater not knowing. And all of a sudden it cuts to Kerry on the motorcycle. And I'm like, no.
I'm not in it.
He's already got the motorcycle and I'm not there.
Yeah. And so in the wrestling scenes with the Freebirds, I'm one of the cameramen. And so, but there's so many angles in it. So what's amazing was that over the course of 2 days it took to film that, probably 250 people on set being paid, and it took up maybe less than 20 seconds of the whole film.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
That's why they're so expensive to make.
It's
So you
crazy.
didn't get a credit.
No, I did not get a credit.
So now you don't have a SAG-AFTRA card.
No. But the reason I found out, the reason why I did get what all happened is they looked, now this ties back to El Dorado, when they saw that initial email, Caballero Casting, they looked at IMDb, International Movie Database, which is that's the Bible for the film industry or whatever.
Right.
And I had a credit from that Bloodstone Diaries film that we filmed here in town back years ago. And I don't know if they thought they were doing my friend on the film commission a favor or what, but
Yeah.
and so you're like, well, you're not an actor. Well, for a year, my taxes in Louisiana
Said I was.
So again, that's subjective, but yeah, it was fun though, and it's fun seeing the film out now where people are really getting to see it. It did really well at the theaters, but now that it's streaming, more people can see it.
What's the name of it?
The Iron Claw.
The Iron Claw.
Yeah, and it's basically the story of the Von Erichs. And it's sad, and when you think it can't get any
very
sadder,
sad.
it
Yes,
gets
it
worse,
does.
and then it gets even worse. And
Kerry, Michael, Kevin, so many of those guys. And I told Mark on the phone the other day, I was like, a friend of ours, he's managing one of the Von Erichs, and he said, that wouldn't be J.R. Schumann, would it? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly who it
I was
is.
like, yeah, I know JR. But the thing about the film was, it's such a true story. Now, there was a lot of liberties taken in the
course
film.
there are.
And actually, there was a fourth brother who died, Chris, who wasn't even portrayed in the film. And I saw an interview with Sean Durkin, who was over the film, saying that it got to a point where you only got so much time. And it just got ridiculous. Another one. And so they what he said was they combined Mike and Chris's together.
Combine them as one story, yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's a sad story. But the thing was, Kevin, still alive. He's the only one left, and they were living in Hawaii, in Maui, got out before the fires, and then moved back and got a ranch in Bernie up north of San Antonio, up in the hill country, before the film came out. And so
Bernie,
they're back
which
in
is
Texas
spelled
now.
Boerne.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of odd spelling there in that German neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
So years ago in the 90s, we had a wrestling group come through, and there was a quote-unquote Von Erich. And off the air, I asked him, because he came in for an interview with us, and I said, now, you're not really a Von Erich. He said, no. He said, I guess his mom, Fritz's sister, and so that's kind of how he played into the family, and that guy ends up committing suicide.
Right.
And, there's just so many of those guys that... but you're right. That whole family saga is very sad. But man, wasn't that back in the great day of wrestling, though? I mean,
it was.
We talked about it a few weeks ago, and my favorite Mid-South wrestling memory would have been December 13th, probably 1982. Junkyard Dog is fighting Ted DiBiase in a match at Reunion Arena, and the loser has to leave Mid-South Wrestling. And if I remember correctly, maybe Jim Duggan interferes in that match, and DiBiase ends up pinning JYD, and so JYD has to leave for 90 days. Well, the next week, there was this new masked wrestler called Stagger Lee.
Stagger Lee, yeah.
And
for 90 days.
yeah, and of course everybody knew it was JYD, you know, but the mask made it a mystery, right? And anyway, so fast forward years later, I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I'm walking through the store. And I stop and I back up and I look, and I said, "That's Junkyard Dog." And my first wife was with me. She said, "No." I said, "That's JYD." So I backed up and said, "JYD." He said, "What's up, baby?" And so we got to talk for a couple of minutes, and I said, "JYD, let me tell you something. When you lost to DiBiase and had to leave Mid-South Wrestling, oh man, it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart." And I said, "But that man what used to take your milk money, Stagger Lee."
Yeah.
He said, "That's a bad man. That's a bad man." And we were having a great conversation until this very shapely lady walks by, and he's like, "How you doing?" She said, "Fine." He said, "I can see that." And then that was the end of our conversation. He was
gone. He was gone, done with you.
And then not long after that, he died in a car accident.
He did. He was actually, I think his was either going to or from North Carolina. His daughter was graduating college. I never met the guy. Heard stories, of course, from Mac and everybody, but those Mid-South days, you know, before cable television.
Oh, that was, yeah.
You know, regional territories, the territories and everything was, and so he was the big star in this area. And
oh yeah, Mid-South Wrestling. There wasn't any
made
bigger
a lot
star.
of money in the Mid-South. You know, 40,000 people in the Superdome. And
refresh my memory when Skandar Akbar came here. What was the event? He had some people with him.
Well,
do you remember what?
Yeah,
you remember all this?
Yeah, because
he's your godfather, right?
Well,
yeah.
And here's how he ends up being my godfather. So when I first met Akbar, now how I got into pro wrestling is because of basketball, and I can explain that too. But so when I first met Akbar, it was I was promoting my first wrestling show, and he had family from Fordyce, so we were kind of had a connection there, but we didn't know each other at all. But of course, I grew up watching him, just terrified of him. You know, he was he was the evil Skandar Akbar.
But he's really actually from Spring Hill, isn't he?
His real name is Jim Webber, and he's from lived in Garland until this side of Dallas until the day he died. But
but I think he was born in Spring Hill, Louisiana, if I remember correctly.
May very well be. Yeah. And so he, as the promoter, me being the promoter, and I hadn't done that with pro wrestling. I watched it as a kid. And now when I was working Barton Coliseum through college in the early 90s, you know, WCW would come through the Coliseum, but I didn't know anything about it really. And so I figured out he knew, and I was using my connections from basketball to book some different arenas or whatever. And he knew that I wasn't your traditional shady wrestling promoter or whatever. Yeah. Now, I didn't know any better at the time. And so he would start introducing
I could have
me.
Been even shadier.
He would, exactly.
I could have done more.
Yeah, man, I could have took it to another level. So he would start introducing me to different people within the wrestling industry as his godson. And it took me a while to figure out. He was putting me over, making me legit to these people.
This is a friend of ours.
Yeah.
It's like if the mob says, you know, hey,
exactly.
he's a good fella.
I would appreciate it
if you would treat him like a friend of ours.
Yeah. And he was hey, this is my godson, Marky. He would call me Marky. To the day he died, we'd be on the phone, oh, hey, Marky, babe. But he was the sweetest guy. Yeah. And nothing like the TV character.
Hard to imagine. Talking to him at the event that you had, I said, well, this is, and I grew up like that too, fearing Skandar.
Well, it was the Bugs, Bands, and Bikes. I think we had transitioned into that from the Crawfish Bowl and added motorcycles. And if you remember, so Ack was there, and everybody called him Ack. To his face, I called him General. Because he was, when it came to wrestling behind the scenes, he was the general.
He was the general.
Yeah, he did all that for me. But also was my dear friend, Dr. Steve Williams, who then passed. And so he was there that day, too. He had just released his book.
Yeah, that was
the Oklahoma Stampede,
But they had a couple of young wrestlers with them.
Those guys were actually from here. They were guys that worked out in the gym a lot, and I put two of my hoods or masks on them and just said, just stand behind Akbar.
I remember.
And it'll look like,
Yeah, because they were svelte.
Yeah, they were, but I can't remember their names, but they were guys that I just knew from Healthworks or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, hey, y'all wrestling fans? I'm like, here, try these masks on. I'm like, that'll work.
Yeah.
So put
Come
white
with me,
tank
guys.
tops and just don't
Don't ask
go
any
along.
questions. Don't say anything.
Yeah, don't say anything. Just stand up. Yeah.
And I
We'll
think
give you stand-up money.
and they'll joke in wrestling was you got paid with a hot dog and a handshake. They may have got a hot dog. They may have got some crawfish too out of the deal though. But yeah.
So
By the way, a winner of the crawfish eating contest.
Yeah.
they were there checking the tails to make sure. I said, listen, y'all cannot duplicate my way of eating crawfish. It's unduplicable.
If I remember, it was a performance of epic proportions.
It was. I sat next to him when he did it, and I was like, "Wow!"
Because Steve Harrell was there, and Sandy was there, and that's when they quit letting just regular people do it. It had to be stars. After
had to be
that.
celebrities
You had to
after
be a
that.
celebrity after that.
Yeah.
Well,
When
there
a
was
non-celebrity won.
There was a secret behind that. We went back to the old wrestling days. You had to get a plant put that
That's
way
right.
because you had to be sure somebody was going to be in it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you know it, then nobody signed up.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, we got to handpick these people.
Well, they started playing Rochambeau too during that.
Yeah,
era
of course, Jax won.
as a child.
Oh,
a
rock,
child.
paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Oh, that was huge.
Yeah,
I know.
Jax won 1 year, and then the very next year, Cam lost in the finals.
Yeah, Cam went all the way to the finals.
I'm probably more proud about coming up with that deal for those couple of years. And now I stole it from Steve Harrison in Hot Springs, who I think did it there.
But it was fabulous.
It was great. It went over gangbusters.
Jax, the year Jax did it, they were in a wrestling rink where the Oil and Heritage Park is now.
Oh, yeah. We set a ring up. And
The next year it was raining so hard they did it inside Corner Cafe. Rest in peace.
And then we ended up doing it in, at that time, was the Italian restaurant across from Sports Alley.
Yeah.
We did it there. But the year with we did it in the wrestling ring. It was.
I've got that picture on my phone. We go to break here in a little bit. I'll show it to you.
It was so much fun.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah. And you know what? We could have had it covered. We could have got I wish I thought to
that
reach
would
out
have
to
been-
the local sport. And
What was here old man can't remember anything. What was the thing that we did at the radio station that they Main Street finally took it over and
Summer concert series.
The summer concert series.
Yeah.
It became big.
it really did. And I was talking to somebody about that not too long ago. And if you remember, and I look back, when I was working on this book, I look back at all these dates, but the summer concert series, before anybody knew who Brothers Osborne was, they played it twice.
Trent Sumner and the New Row Mob. Let me
Trent
just tell you
Sumner and the New
something.
Row-
I have such an immense appreciation for Trent Sumner and the New Row Mob, and I wouldn't know him if it hadn't been for Mark. And I've texted Mark over the years and be like, hey, man, I just got through listening to blah, blah, blah from Trent Sumner and the New Row Mob.
Yeah.
And then those guys who, Space
Phenomenal.
Cadets.
Space Cadet.
I forgot about
their
those
rendition
guys.
of Betty Davis Eyes. What a great.
Oh, I hadn't thought
that was
about
such
that
a
in a
great
long time.
cover that they did.
It was. They were out of Dallas.
I of course, I have such an eclectic taste in music, and but I can appreciate talent.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I got to say, Mark. You were constantly just booking talent.
Well, thank you. I loved it. And now, I coached college basketball through 97, 98 was my last season. And Coach Erich Bozeman leaving Henderson State, I was an assistant with him, is the very reason that I got into the pro wrestling business. And I'll tell, it's a crazy story. But then I started booking, I booked a few shows with David Allan Coe, went and borrowed some money and just little nickel and dime shows. And then that kind of took off to more and more.
You actually brought him here to the
I did,
Silverado Club.
Right. I can't remember what it was called at that time, but yes. And it was everywhere we had David at, it was gangbusters. But I learned exactly how you don't do things with him. Yeah. People would ask, hey, I'd like to meet David. And I'm just like, man, no, you don't.
You don't want to meet him?
No.
It'll ruin anything,
It was. And the good thing about him is he didn't show up until right before it was time to go on.
Yeah.
Now, his crew would be there. And so, but you didn't have to deal with David, which was a good thing. But, I mean, he didn't care about the money. Well, he did.
Yeah, of course.
He didn't care how much money I made, as long as he got
His
X amount
money
in cash. Then he didn't pay attention to the accounting or who was making what. So that was, but I learned how it's not done.
I got you. I got you.
But he always sold a lot of tickets. I mean, he was good for 1,000 tickets anywhere, in large, clubs and stuff. And that's about what we did here in town, if I remember right. But now the one thing, I don't know if you were there, much like Ozzy Osbourne, David would he required air conditioning to be turned off prior to sound check, so it was usually early afternoon. It was probably 250 degrees in that place.
Oh my!
And
gosh.
I just remember the guy that ran the place, or the club owner, was doing these Jello shot specials, carrying them, and they were just melted.
melting.
It was just a mess.
Oh no!
And but yeah, I had more shows with David Allan Coe where I'm just soaking wet, and
he wouldn't let you run it during the event.
no, but the club, and I would have to be up front with the club owners from the very beginning. So now look, it is on paper.
The air
conditioning has to be off. What if I'm just telling you right now, he will not go on. And so that's just the way it is. So if you don't want to do it,
say it now.
I understand, but I'm just telling you, he ain't going to change his mind.
Help me. What was the reason for that?
They claimed with Ozzy that it was due to getting sick.
The air blowing, getting hot and cooling off.
Hot and cold.
And there was probably some, you had to have the mystique of the demonic side of all that.
So it was hot, and he was sweating through his clothes. I mean, you look at any Aussie show, and he is soaking wet.
Yeah.
Like he just climbed out of the pool. So,
But with Coe, he would literally, they had it down to a science. But now this is before smartphones, and so I guess we had some form of cell phones. So I'd be at the venue, wherever we were at, and 9 times out of 10, it's 10 minutes for the show. And his bus is nowhere.
He's not there
to be found, and I'm standing by the highway or just waiting.
Yeah.
And then here it pulls up. He's got his guitar strapped on, goes
just walks in and starts.
And there was a clock always sitting face up. He played 60 minutes, not a minute more. Yeah. And as soon as that, right back on the bus. Now, the other thing about Coe was if it was within reason, he was going to be at a casino before and after. And so I thought that he must be this big gambler. So the very one time that I was actually in a casino with him, he played penny slots.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
Penny slots, yeah.
Just entertainment for him.
Penny Annie.
Yeah. And, he was something else.
So conversely, anytime Sandy and I have done anything, we ask for, he preaches and I sing, we want fans. Turn the fans on because we both sweat.
Yeah.
Whatever analogy you want to use.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Coe, he didn't have to. He was just there for 60 minutes. That's what I was getting. Yeah. So he didn't care about the people that's packed in there, dying. But
yeah.
So,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you talked about it being on the contract. I'm sure you've seen some of the craziest riders in contract. I mean, I know I did.
Yeah.
Years ago, one of the radio stations I was at, we put on a show, and with at that time a pretty big name artist, and I'm not going to say who it was because I don't want people to realize how much of a diva he is. But dude wanted us counting his calories for him. He wanted prepared meals with this but not this, and it could not equal more than X calories. And he wanted Amstel light beer, and he wanted, and they had this list of stuff, and I was just like, where am I going to get Amstel light beer? I don't even know where you buy Amstel light. We were able to find it to put on the show, but some of those guys and girls that we did shows with over the years were just pure divas.
Right.
Yeah, we took some stuff to a music fest group that was at the old Murphy building, and it was pretty odd what they wanted.
I've seen some big ones. Migos had quite a bit. Now they were one of the hottest acts on the planet at the time, and so I'm like, look, whatever
they trash the hotel here though?
Well, there was
the plane.
That was a rumor, greatly exaggerated.
Okay,
yeah. Apparently they burned I can't remember how many black SUVs, and 2 days later the SUVs I had reserved weren't new enough, and so it's hard to get 6 or 8 black SUVs that match.
Yeah.
It was
in El Dorado, Arkansas.
Well, because we were having to get them from, thank goodness, Jeff Teague, but I was getting them out of Shreveport. But logistically, having to get that many vehicles to and from. But so word around the campfire was there was a cigarette burn or something was burned into a seat. And we're like, you got to, I'm like, look, Guns N' Roses, when they were turning over cop cars and stuff. I'm like, if that, they did what, they sold out in less than a week. And
on that reputation.
Well, they were so hot. I don't know that they had the reputation at that time. I mean, it was less than probably 6 months after they had really hit, but they blew up fast. But the guy, remember, on the tarmac out here at the airport and waiting with all those SUVs, waiting for him to get there, and didn't show up. So I called the guy, and he was like, "Oh man, we're still on the farm outside of Atlanta." He's like, "They're on four-wheelers." And I'm like, and I'm losing my, I'm blowing a gasket. And he was like, "Look, man, this is how this is going to go down." He's like, I'm going to go get them. We're going to get there. He's like, "Tell your guys, your drivers, don't push them, don't speed them up." And they ended up being, and we did just that. And they were, maybe 30 minutes late going on stage. Crowd waited, of course. Yeah. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
They came in and they did it. All the stuff on the rider. One of the things on the rider I remember being hard for our folks to find was Ace of Spades champagne, which cost a fortune. And we're like, we just can't get it. I'm like, no, we got to get it. I do not want them to show up and have any. That was the thing.
Yeah.
To have any. I want everything the way
they requested
because I want everything.
Well, you don't want that reputation to go around. You don't want that reputation to go around in circles of, I went there, but they didn't meet half of what I expected.
So we found the Ace of Spades champagne, I think, at a place in Little Rock, and so they told I can't remember who it was that went and got it. They said, "Well, if you bring the receipt and it doesn't get wet, we'll buy it back from you." And so I remember at the end of the night, after Amigos, we'd already they were back on the plane, headed back, and so made it back and got to the green room and just to see, and so there was a lot of Popeye's chicken, and then there was high-end stuff, and then there was stuff you can just go get right now. And so, but the Ace of Spades hadn't been touched.
Oh,
and it was dry, so I can't remember who it was. Like, so we'll take it back. I'm like, no.
Let's put that buddy on ice. Let's see what it's about.
Let's see what this is about. Yeah, and I'm like,
whatever.
Champagne, I guess.
It's the label.
I'm like, no, I think we've earned that. So yeah, we all had the Ace of Spades, but
that's hilarious.
But the riders came around. Supposedly, legend is Van Halen they were the first tour that really had the really, I can't remember the word I'm trying to think of. The word I'm trying to use, but their production rider and their stage set and everything was that the reason they asked for the M&Ms, minus or however, if there was a certain number or color, was because if they knew if they didn't get questioned about that the promoter
not reading the rider.
Was not paying attention, and so if they didn't catch that, then they was going to be missing all kind of production. They were going to be cutting corners. So that was there was a method to that madness.
You may have said that before. I've heard that story.
When I first started booking acts and putting on shows, it was real simple. We called then Perfect Stranger. You remember the group Perfect Stranger?
Oh, sure. You have the right to remain silent.
Yeah. And huge country hit. And now it was hometown for one of the guys, so it was like coming home. They didn't require a place to stay. They're going to stay out at his mama's house. And here they are, number one on the country charts in America, right? But they're going to stay out at Andy Ginn's mama's and daddy's place, which his daddy was a doctor.
Okay.
And but $5,000 and they're going to show up. Willie Nelson was, you pay for the lights, you pay for the sound, sell the tickets for whatever price you want to sell them for. We'll split that 50-50, cash only. Willie's problems with IRS.
Yeah.
And so those were real easy. But then you have people who, like you said, they're worried about what's yours in your pocket. And they're like, well, hold on. I'm going to get 10 grand, but he's going to make 15. Why?
Right.
Even though all the risk was yours.
Sure. Yeah. I always tried to stay out of back end percentages, especially like at Main Street. We were a nonprofit. We had a volunteer board. And this is before we were actually selling tickets online. It's hard to prove accounting directly after it, before a show's over, when there's walk-ups and stuff, unless you really have it. And so I tried to avoid staying in those back-end percentages. That's when you start getting into money issues. It wasn't that anything's doing it's just hard the way we're doing it at the time. Now, when we went online and selling, just strictly, it was easier to have the accounting right then. But before then, that's why we may have paid a higher guarantee to avoid having to do a back-end percentage. And it was just because there was too big a risk that the accounting wasn't going to be there, because we just wasn't we weren't high tech enough at that time to do that, and so it was easier to pay a little bit more of a guarantee and not have to worry about that. Because a lot of times when you do have a walk up, especially when it's cash, well, you've got to be able to account for that in a short amount of time,
right?
And you've got volunteers, and they're great. But now when I was working for Butch Stone, the concert company, I have seen Pantera for one. I have been in settling up with back ends to where there were guns, not drawn, but there were guns.
We're serious about this.
There were guns there. And so you have to be able to account, not 2 days later, but usually before the show's over.
Yeah.
And so that was why we tried to stay out of those back-end guarantee or back-end percentages or whatever.
You know, there was a group that brought a monster truck series here to a farm out on Morningstar Road.
Yeah.
And, this guy wanted to run all these ads, and he guaranteed me X amount of dollars in ad revenue. And so he's like, just send me a bill. I'm like, not sending you a bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not somebody
I know
who
how
even
that
tells
works.
us.
Yeah, not somebody. I always said
like a fireworks
carnivals, concerts, and pastors.
Yeah,
you need to pay up front.
Right.
Hey, who was the group that those German police dogs? The gospel group. I raised my hand, telling anyway. They go to this same church every year on a circuit, and they pass the plate like you do at those gospel concerts, and the preacher would take them back in the back and said, "We're going to count it." And then he said they looked at them plates and they wasn't getting what the preacher was counting. So the next year he says, "Tell you what, Pastor said, we're just going to trust in the Lord this year. So just leave everything right there, and whatever they give, we're going to accept." And they never got invited back again. So, that back end deal.
Well, I tell you, another off the wall thing that wasn't expecting is I had John Conlee booked in a club years back, and this is probably early 2000s, and so I had come to an agreement with the club owner. I was going to bring John in. I was going to get the gate and a percentage of the bar, and then he could do whatever. It was an off night, so he was going to do well on an off night. And so here comes the curveball. It's like midway through, John was really involved in the early farm aids and all that stuff. Well, nobody told me that part of the show he's going to pass around a 5-gallon bucket
for farm aid
to raise money for the American farmers. All right. Well, the club owner, of course, usually on that deal, you get 15-20% of the merchandise the artist sells. There's a lot of give and take on both of it and on both sides, and give and take. Well, now all of a sudden, there's a 5-gallon bucket. He's taken. And so the club owner is like, we didn't talk about that, and I want my cut. You're getting your cut. I'm getting, So I have to go to John's guy. Not John. He's on stage doing rose-colored glasses. And I'm like, look, man, you didn't tell me that you're going to pass the plate, bucket. And it almost turned into a Mexican standoff with one of the sweetest guys in the world.
And you're more Mexican than him?
Well, it's like, I mean, there's a reason. There's a lot of, there's an agreement. And you got to here's the thing. Any agreement, it don't matter what it involves.
Yes.
Everybody needs to win.
Sure.
Everybody needs to feel
like they won.
I get it from that club owner. Well, people are giving him money that they're not spending with me.
With me, yeah.
So I want my 15%. Same thing with wrestling. Same thing. It's anybody, everybody. And so that was something that wasn't discussed up front. So we had an issue. The only other issue I remember having literally an argument with was when I had Kenny Rogers in town.
Yeah.
The sweetest man in the world.
Yeah.
And me and his longtime road manager, it was over the back end, and it was not adding up. It was to me on paper, but I'm like, it gets into then 85% after X amount of dollars, or 90% after $75,000. It just gets to be a lot of accounting, and I'm like, wait, if we're at this point where we're nose to nose over $500 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But it got to that point because I'm like, you got to understand, I've got a board.
Yeah, that I have to.
I mean, so
a nonprofit.
Yeah, and
I have to
get
answer to
if this
them.
was me in
Me and you, we'd make here's $500.
I would very easily say, okay, I tell you what, you keep the merchandise, we'll keep this, everything's fine. I can't because I have a board, and so they may not understand the code of the roads like you give and take. Like sometimes the artists most of the time the guys selling the merchandise, that's how they're getting paid.
Yeah.
And so if everybody's been easy to work with, well, at the end of the night, cut a little slack on the percentage. Well, you can't do that when
you got to be all up and on.
It's got to be on paper, and I get it. I mean, that's just the way it is. But you do get in those kind of weird spots.
Yeah. Let's take a break.
Okay.
We'll take a break, and we still have plenty to go over and plenty to cover.
I'm having a blast.
I am too. So this is Mark Givens, and we'll be back with him in just a moment for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer.
Experience, courage, common sense. All of these are traits we want in any elected position, but especially in the man we will pick as our next sheriff. Michael Fife hasn't just been in law enforcement for 30 plus years. He's the one who answers the call in the middle of the night, putting himself last and Union County first, looking folks in the eye, doing what's right, standing up for all of us. Vote for Michael Fife for Union County Sheriff.
The brand new deli is open at Davis Farms Country Market, featuring boar's head cheese and meats. Try the turkey bacon ranch, the London broil roast beef, the club sandwich, or a fresh and crispy BLT. Check out their cranberry pecan chicken salad, not to mention fresh hot gumbo, the soup of the day, and more. Davis Farms Country Market, 4523 Junction City Highway, or call 870-639-1323. Country Village Sporting Goods has a little bit of everything you need to get you to the water, the woods, or to the camp. Coming soon, a new shipment of creek boats. Every year we sell out fast. Get yours ordered today. It seems like we're always unboxing the latest and greatest in lures and tackle. Come check out new colors, new styles, and the latest technology making rods lighter and reels easier to cast. Cruise through our vast selection of camo clothing, coveralls, overalls, boots, outerwear, and more. All at Country Village Sporting Goods, 965 Smackover Highway in El Dorado.
Everybody loves a parade, and Hilarious Pizza throws parades all week long. Bring the family in for your favorites, or explore the variety that Hilarious Pizza offers. Come join us at Hilarious Pizza for the greatest parade ever.
Hey, welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer, and our special guest this week, Mark Givens. And Mark, we talked a lot about concerts, and we'll talk some more about some wrestling here in a minute, because you're one of the few people I can actually talk about Mid-South wrestling with.
Oh yeah, I grew up with it.
That actually knows.
Hey, look, every Saturday
Boomer
morning
gives me that far away look like
at 10 a.m.
No, I watched it, but I'm not into it.
In the summer, we had a big garden growing up. We were on a farm, and so but at 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings, everything kind of stopped and watched Mid-South wrestling.
Well, I say wrestling changed when you no longer had Sunday school teacher grandmas in the audience. Because I'm going to tell you, in those Mid-South days, you better not get in front of Meemaw.
Oh, no. My grandparents
the Rock and
loved
Roll Express were coming out, because, or the Midnight Express, because she wanted to cuss them out. It's the only time every week she'd cuss.
Yeah.
But she'd cuss them out. Or Skandar Akbar would come out.
Yeah.
And, those sweet old ladies that.
But they traveled with them sometimes, because there was a sweet old lady that when I was growing up in South Louisiana that came Mid-South, and she was at the ringside with her purse and all that. And I said, Daddy, is she really? He goes, I think she may be with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's called a plant.
Yeah, she was planted.
A plant. Yeah.
So over the last week, we've heard a whole lot about the U.S. Navy.
Yes.
And involved in the strikes against Iran. And I'm saying, Boomer, we've got to change how we talk about the Navy. Because when they tell me it's a San Francisco class destroyer, that doesn't tell me anything. Matter of fact,
San Francisco
class. Yeah.
What does that mean? It's gay?
bingo. Not. Keep those cards and letters coming, folks.
Well, San Francisco is known for.
Yeah, I understand,
Okay.
but you didn't have to say it.
Okay, just everybody, just take that off. I didn't say it.
It's like rice-a-roni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a San Francisco treat.
Well, I can just say this when they say that it's a San Francisco class or a Nimitz class or an Eisenhower class, that doesn't strike fear into the enemy.
So let me ask you, got some names for them, don't you? Oh, here we go.
Bingo. What if we started with Marlboro Red class destroyers?
Yeah.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. How about
those will choke you up?
Yeah.
Get it? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Chuck Norris class amphibious warships.
Oh, that's a little better. Yeah. Yep. Amphibious warships. Yeah.
Barbed wire class frigates.
You're going to get cut in half.
And you know what else I say? Let's stop painting those ships the color of the ocean and the sky. They say, well, it's harder for them to see them.
I want to see them coming.
Let's paint that buddy black and put a big number 3 on the side of it, okay? You think that won't scare the hell out of some enemies?
And they look across the old Public Enemy logo on the side, like Public Enemy #1.
Yeah. So they look out across that ocean like, number 3. And they're like, I don't know. Oh, shit.
Well, I'll tell you, the Iranian Navy is, they know what those words mean.
Yeah, they do.
Because they don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Or better yet, paint one orange. Sponsored by Home Depot.
Sure.
Let it pull up on a Gulf Coast.
Let's brand and sell it. Yeah, if we're going to.
Bright yellow M&M's ship. You know, I'll say this. It will make the press conferences a whole lot better. I wrote it out what it would say. And
Coca-Cola presents the Iran war.
Some guy walks up to the podium with a Marlboro hanging out of his mouth and said, yeah, it was a good day on the Budweiser, Whataburger, Quaker State, Mike Tyson destroyer today. We took out 2 Iranian drones and launched 11 Clint Eastwood class stealth fighters who all returned safely with 10 less Hellfire missiles.
You can catch all the Ashton streaming live on Peacock.
On Roku.
Next day.
Yeah.
I just say that
that's an idea. And listen, guys that are in media like we are, if you said we can market it, we can sell that.
We'll sell it if it ain't tied down. Sell it.
Yeah. Hey man, I just want a sticker about this big on the side of that ship.
Yeah.
So that'd be 10,000.
A day.
Yeah.
A lot of space on those ships to.
Space to
but
I'm just saying, man.
Sell it. Jerry Jones will have that thing.
Yeah. You better believe it.
So on those aircraft carriers, man. They're always pulling up and then showing everything. You could do it right on the deck.
Right on the deck, yeah. Big Coca-Cola logo right there on the deck.
Built Ford tough.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The steam launcher brought to you by.
Yeah, exactly. So I was reading the other day, and this is according to Hollywood Reporter, the best movie lines of all time.
Okay.
We do a lot of 80s based and 90s based stuff, but this is according to all time. I'll say the line. You tell me if you can what movie this comes from.
Well, Mark's going to win this game.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
That's a war movie about Vietnam with. You don't remember that movie? You just
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah,
Apocalypse Now. That's right.
Trying to let me answer.
I was letting you answer. I thought you had it.
Yeah, Tom Hagen, the conciliary from Godfather, was the one who said it. Robert Duvall.
And who was they were surfing out there too? Who was that surfing?
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah, some guy wanted to go surf. Anyway, go ahead.
Next one. We're going to need a bigger boat.
Jaws.
That's right. Yeah. Negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is full.
Top Gun.
It's Top Gun.
Very good. It's one of my favorites. That's what I tell my kids anytime I go to tell them no.
Yeah.
I'm like,
negative
Ghost Rider. Pattern is full.
We do that all the time.
Roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Blazing Saddles?
No.
We don't
Back
need no
to the Future.
Oh, okay.
Back to the Future.
I was remember that.
The very end where he comes and picks up Marty and his girlfriend.
Yeah, you got to go come see about your kids.
Yeah, and he says, Doc, we don't have enough room here on this road. He said, roads.
That's
where we're going, we don't need roads.
The DeLorean picked up
the DeLorean,
and the tires folded under.
Yeah. How about this line? I've always depended on the kindness of strangers.
No clue.
It's a female.
Terms of Endearment?
A Streetcar Named Desire.
Oh, that's classic, but I don't remember that.
How about this one?
I don't remember that one either.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me, aren't you?
Graduate.
The Graduate, yeah. Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah. as the young guy.
Yeah, as the young guy.
Who was Mrs. Robinson? That was
I don't recall.
Okay, I see your face. Never mind.
So here's a great line. As far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a gangster. Come on, it's
Scarface. No, Goodfellas.
Goodfellas, very good. Yeah, I was gonna say it's like one of the top 2 mob movies of all time.
What a good movie.
Yeah, what a great movie. How about this? You're killing me, Smalls.
The Sandlot.
Sandlot, very good. Here you go, Boomer. I see dead people.
Can't remember the name of the movie.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh,
he made that.
I can see the kid.
You see the little boy.
Yeah, Sixth Sense.
The Sixth Sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was such a fraud perpetrated in that movie because M. Night Shyamalan come out with that and you think, oh my God, anything this guy makes is going to be fabulous.
Yeah.
And then there was The Lady in the Water.
Yeah, that
was 3 hours of my life I'll never get back.
I thought he was going to be like the Tarantino.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Yeah, he did some spooky movies.
Oh, he's had some good ones since. Signs with Mel Gibson was another great movie. But then again, there's where the black carnation grows or whatever it's called. I don't remember, but he's
surely you can't be serious.
Yeah,
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. I was waiting on that one to come up. I use that at least once a day. Don't call me Shirley.
Here's a quote: "Get busy living or get busy dying." I got this one wrong.
No recall on that one.
I got this one wrong because I said Tombstone.
Okay.
Shawshank Redemption. And it's when Red and the main character are in the yard at the jail, and he said, "The way I see it, you got to get busy living or you got to get busy dying." He said,
"Boss, I see a mouse."
That's a different show.
I know.
Yeah. That's the Green Mile.
Yeah, that's the Green Mile.
Here's one of the greatest movies of all time. Are you going to pull those pistols or stand there and whistle Dixie? The Outlaw Josie Wells.
Oh my gosh, man! You ain't seen all of them, but I don't remember those great lines.
I know. It's been a long time since.
Greed, for the lack of a better word, is good.
Oh, that's the
Wall Street.
Wall Street. Yeah. Very good. Yep.
Gordon Gekko, is that right?
Yeah, Gordon Gekko. Yep. Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
King Kong.
Planet of the Apes.
Charlton Heston, Planet of the Apes. That's right.
They blew it all up.
How about
Boy,
this?
those terrified me as a kid.
Those did.
Yeah.
Those futuristic movies.
The one with the Statue of Liberty
at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, they blew it all up.
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, that's when Tom was
A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men.
He was the lawyer, and
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson was the.
And you know what Jack Nicholson said in that diatribe, the movie was absolutely 100% correct. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't imagine what we do so that you can go to your cocktail parties.
To have to go
through.
You
you've never walked that wall.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we have people that go outside the lines to.
Yeah.
Off record.
Are you crying? There's no crying in baseball.
That's a girls' baseball team.
Mm-hmm. Tom Hanks.
League of Their Own.
A League of Their Own.
I got to spend some time with Lori Petty years back. That was cool.
Yeah.
She even signed a bat
Which
for
one
me.
was she?
She played Kit. I think it was Kit.
Yeah, the real tough one.
The little blonde.
Yeah,
she was
yeah,
also
yeah.
She was also in Orange Is the New Black.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember her now. That's a great show.
Yeah, she's good.
How about this one? Go ahead, make my day.
Dirty Harry.
It's not Dirty Harry.
It's not.
It's Harry Callahan playing the part, but the name of the movie is not Dirty Harry. Sudden Impact.
Sudden Impact.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That was after he had already had the wonderful line of,
I don't know whether I shot 5 times or 6.
Go ahead.
"You feel lucky, punk?"
Punk.
Well, do you?
Do you?
Yeah. So I thought they missed a few.
All right.
For example, nowhere on that list was, "I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse."
Yeah.
What movie is that?
I don't know that one.
The Godfather.
I couldn't remember if it was the first one or what.
I'm Your Huckleberry.
Tombstone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
That's old.
Casablanca.
No.
Casablanca.
No.
Gone with the
From
Wind.
Here to Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
Frankly, Scarlett.
What we've got here is a failure to communicate.
I remember the line. I don't remember the movie.
Cool Hand Luke.
Okay. I'm getting stumped on all these last ones.
You talking to me?
Over there?
There's no one else standing here. You have to be talking to me. Robert De Niro
In
Taxi
driver. Yeah.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yep, Silence of the Lambs.
Put the lotion in the basket. What a spooky movie.
That was a spooky
That
movie.
was a spooky movie.
Because, you know, in someone's mind, that exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing about movies like, you know, slasher films are just that. Slasher films.
Yeah.
Put a funny black guy in the beginning who's going to die, because they're always going to die in the beginning, and put a real pretty girl in scantily clad and let her get chased down. And then there's the protagonist that barely makes it out alive. That's every slasher film there is. But when you write a horror film or a thriller like that with so many twists and turns, you're like, what goes on in that person's mind?
Yeah, that's sick individual.
It's like Stephen King, telling his kids a bedtime story. No thanks, Dad.
No, yeah,
I'd like to sleep this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
Well,
wanna
there's no black and white. There's like that shade of gray is what'll surprise you.
Uh-huh.
The one's like, well, he may be like
life
us.
is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Forrest Gump.
Yeah. Help me.
You said 7 names and none of them was right. Houston, we have a problem.
It's Apollo
13.
Apollo 13.
Both of those,
By the
incidentally,
way,
were Tom
not
Hanks.
to get into conspiracy, but I'm 54. A couple of years ago, I came to the conclusion there ain't no way we went to the moon. There's no way we went to the
Do you
moon.
believe the Earth's flat?
No, but I don't. There ain't no way we went to the moon. When I learned that we'd been lied to about the food pyramid,
Right.
as a kid, that's when I'm like, no.
Yeah, you want to know why Gen X is distrustful of everything? Because we were told our entire life that the food pyramid was like God.
Yes.
You follow the food pyramid and you're going to live happy and healthy for the rest of your life. Be sure and get your dairy.
Only to find out it's the Food and Grain Administration trying to, sell a bunch of rice.
Yeah, and the dairy farmers lobby got in on it.
Yeah.
And got included in there.
And that's when I'm like, there ain't no way we went to the moon. And we're not selling real estate on it by now. I'm like,
Yeah.
I digress.
Because you know if Donald John Quavius Trump was in charge of that, there would be a Trump Towers on the moon.
Oh, yeah. With luxury packages.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see.
Flying on Elon Musk stuff.
And a music festival.
Here's a line. Here's Johnny.
That's when they were at the hotel and Nicholson.
The Shining.
The Shining.
Yeah.
They're here.
E.T.
Poltergeist.
Saw it through the TV.
I was going to say Close Encounters. Say I was off too.
Poltergeist. And then, of course, Poltergeist 2 was that same little girl in the trailer who turned and looked at the camera and said, "They're back."
Yeah, that's right.
Another spooky movie.
Yes. How about this one? Hasta la vista, baby. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Terminator
2.
Yeah.
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
That's James Bond something.
Yeah, that comes from Goldfinger.
Okay.
If you build it, they will come.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams, yeah. One of the best,
One
by
of
the
the
way,
best
one of the
movies.
greatest baseball movies of all time.
I had the picture in my mind of the field in the corn pasture.
Yeah. Bull Durham is my favorite, but yeah,
Oh,
Field
yeah,
of
Bull
Dreams.
Durham.
Oh,
was-
yeah, listen.
When I had Costner in town, I had for the Durham Bulls, I ordered a Crash Davis jersey and had it in my Navigator. And I don't know if you knew this, but that morning, me and Kevin Costner rode all around South Arkansas that day.
Is that right?
Me and
Wow.
him and his best friend. And his buddy, we were somewhere around Smackover. He wanted to see the swamps. He wanted to see some oil fields.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, Kev, Mark's got some stuff for you to sign." And he was like, "Well, pull over." And so he said, "What do you got?"
At a Norflit at an oil.
We were out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And he said, "What do you got?" I'm like, "Well, I got this jersey." And I'm like, "Man, I'm sorry." He's like, "No, what are you?" So I've got it battered framed. But then, and I said, and I've got this Cleveland Browns football helmet that just stumbled upon, draft day.
Yeah.
And
God, what a great
signed
movie.
that. And then, and it's like, I got a case of baseballs, but here's the story. In order to buy one Major League Baseball at Hibbett Sports, I had to buy a case. He's like, I'll sign them all. He said, what are you going to do with them? I'm like, gifts, sponsors, and stuff. Wasn't planning on it, but I'm like, this is ridiculous. No, this is what a good guy is. He was like, at the end of the day, he said, those are going to make people happy, right? That help you. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, why don't you send me another case?
How cool.
And he sent them back. So Tim's like, send it here. I'll make, and then, yeah.
How cool is that?
He was the best. Cool. Yeah, but I've still got the Crash Davis jersey signed, matted in my house.
Incidentally, Mark gave me a gift before the show today. I'll pull it out here in a second and show y'all, but it's a print from the 2006 Music Fest with Charlie Daniels.
Oh, really?
And Jason D. Williams and a whole bunch of...
And Trent Summer, the new that you mentioned a while ago. Yeah. Trent's on there.
And it's autographed.
Cool.
And Michael Burks, the late great Michael Burks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to go in a place of prominence.
Yeah.
I'm tickled to death about that.
That's cool.
Of course, Mark also gave me my only copy of a photograph of Nolan Ryan autographed. And then he also gave me years ago a program from the 1986 National League Championship Series between the Astros and the Mets. And inside there is Dickie Thon, Bill Doran.
If I remember, Bill Doran,
Cruz.
Alan Ashby was maybe Phil Garner.
Yeah, Phil Garner would have been part of that crew.
And here's the reason is about, we had a family friend, what we called, it was like an uncle, but wasn't related, but my dad and him were real close. But so he was a pastor in Baytown, Texas, outside of Houston. Well, of course, you know. And so we would go down there in the summers. Now, he also had... he wasn't like he was the team chaplain or anything like that, but he had an in with the Astros, and so we went down because as a kid I was a big Gary Carter fan. He was everything.
Yeah, I remember
played
that.
in the Montreal days, and so we had planned to go to Houston to catch the Montreal series. So anyway, Roy Parker, Dad's friend, he was the pastor, First Baptist Church in Baytown. So at that time, Duke Snider, Hall of Famer, Dodgers, was the radio announcer for Montreal. So the plan was like he had agreed to go with Brother Roy and speak at his church. They were in town. It was a night game. Well, no, it was a night game, and then there was a night game, so they used to go to church. Well, at the last minute, so we go to the hotel with him to pick up Duke Snider, take him back to Baytown, get there, and who's going with us? Gary Carter.
Oh, my goodness.
I've got all these pictures. It was like a Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Got to ride in the car with not only Duke Snider, but with Gary Carter. I'll show you the pictures. I've got them. It was like, I remember crying when he had to leave that day. I was probably 11 or 12, maybe.
Yeah, it's huge in your life.
Oh, yeah. And that was the one season that Pete Rose played for Montreal.
I forgot about Pete playing for Montreal.
I had a batting helmet that was signed by the entire team. I sold it years ago. It was my first divorce. I would give anything if I'd held on to it. Pete Rose is on that. Yeah,
we all have those moments where we wish, man, I shouldn't have sold that.
I know. I wish I'd hung on to that. But Pete Rose was on that Montreal team.
Wow. Yeah,
so that was why I ended up. We would go down there quite a bit. How I accumulated all that stuff from the Astros or whatever.
Of course, I also have a game used bat from the 1994 Astros from Jeff Bagwell. And in 1994, Jeff was the National League MVP, home run champion, RBI champion, and I think was second in slugging percentage. But I was just telling Mark.
He was a beast.
He was.
He was a beast.
As I was telling Mark earlier, I said that was a strike-shortened season, so it's always had an asterisk, because of that. But that doesn't change my mind. When I was a kid, when I was little, my favorite player was Jose Cruz. And he just had that weird batting stance. And,
that high kick.
And of course, he was playing in the Astrodome where you had to shoot it out of there with a cannon if you wanted to hit a home run.
Yeah.
And but then along came Bagwell and Biggio and the Killer Bees, and I just continued. Obviously, I'm still an Astros fan. And Jax and I went to the World Series in 22 together.
Oh wow!
We went to game number 2 between them and the Phillies, and the Astros won. And That was there were either 11 or 14, I can't remember now, rows behind us to the roof.
Mm-hmm.
That's how high up we were. But you didn't go there so you could watch the game. You went so you could say, I've been to a freaking World Series. How many times in your life are you going to get the chance to say, I went to a World Series?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You know, of course, I think the next game out was the game that the Astros no-hit the Phillies.
Yeah.
And they end up winning the World Series that year. And in 2017, they won the World Series as well. My wife had never been to a Major League Baseball game. Mm-hmm. And so she bought us tickets for our anniversary. She bought us tickets to go see the Astros and the Athletics. And so we go, and of all things that night, Biggio comes out and throws out the opening pitch.
Oh, wow.
That was cool. And, of course, I know a whole lot more about Craig Biggio than 90% of the world knows.
More than you probably wanted to know.
Well,
way more than I wanted to know.
The 86 Astros and Mets playoff series.
There were a lot of people back then said this is the World Series.
Yeah,
the winner of this was going to be the
champion.
champion.
Mike Scott was a beast that year for the Astros. Now I was a Mets fan because Carter had been traded to the Mets or whatever. 2 years later, and I've got the picture, and I posted it on Facebook here a while back. But me and my little brother and Dwight Gooden. I don't know if you remember the old Shamrock Hotel nearby the Astrodome.
Yeah, they had glass elevators.
We're in the bar. I don't know who took the picture of me and my little brother and Dwight Gooden. Now, in '84, Dwight Gooden was 18 or 19 years old. That was his rookie year. He won Rookie of the Year that year. My caption in the Facebook is 3 underage kids in a bar. 2 were supervised.
2 were supervised.
You pick which 2.
Yeah. Dwight Gooden was a kid in the Shamrock, in the bar at the Shamrock Hotel.
You know, if I remember correctly, that series went to 7 games. And I think multiple games in that series went to extra innings. And then the Mets go on and to play the Red Sox. And of course, Billy Buckner boots the ball there.
Mookie Wilson.
Yeah, and the Red Sox curse remained.
Yep.
To me, that's the greatest playoff, and that was the greatest fall, playoffs and World Series.
I
Not just
agree.
being a Gary Carter fan.
Yeah.
But that Astros, Mike Scott, good Lord,
again,
he had a couple years.
You remember that team had Mike Scott, Nolan Ryan, and Larry Durker, I believe. They were only just a couple years removed from J.R. Richards.
Yep.
J.R. Richards, who many believed at that time was going to be the prime arm in Major League Baseball for a decade.
Died of a stroke. Isn't that right?
He didn't die.
Did he not?
I don't think he's dead yet.
Okay. But he had a stroke.
He had a stroke. But he was snorting coke off stripper titties like before every game,
Going back to Dwight Gooden being a kid in a bar. It was a Wild West show in pro sports back then.
Yes. Yeah. And MLB, that union is so strong. That players union is so strong. Major League Baseball really can't tell those players anything.
Right.
I mean, and so if they wanted to, that's why the whole steroid era. There's never been a time where Major League Baseball's come out and said that was wrong. You know why? Because there was nothing they could do about it.
No, they just did it.
And now. And that brings up a whole other subject, and that is, does Barry Bonds belong in the Hall of Fame? I say 100%.
I agree with that.
Well, I don't care if there were PEDs involved or not. Everyone else was using them.
Yeah, everybody else.
My opinion is if he was playing and nobody, he should be. Same thing with Clemens. I think it is a travesty Pete Rose wasn't in the Hall of Fame.
100%
Until after he died, which is exactly what they said in that documentary, is like the worst thing was happen is he dies, and then
they put him in it.
Yeah. And
but one of the greatest players of all time.
Of all time.
Mr. Hustle.
I got to see
bar none.
I have a signed bat that's one of my prized possessions. He was Pete Rose.
Pete freaking Rose.
Pete Rose.
There's a clip out there, and you may have seen it, with him and Nolan Ryan. And Nolan Ryan walking through the clubhouse or something, and Pete Rose is in there stretching. And he said, "Ryan, I saw what you did last night in that game against Atlanta." He said, "I hope you do throw one at my head." And or saw what you did the other night, and he said, "I hope you do throw one at my head." And Ryan said, "You can't get out of the way if I throw it at your head, Pete." And he said, "No." He said, "I'm going to put it right in your effing mouth."
Oh,
that was before the game.
Yeah.
So Nolan Ryan, what does he do? First pitch to Pete Rose is right at his head, 100 miles an hour, up and in. And what does Pete Rose do? he backs out of the way and turns that barrel around and pops it right back at Nolan Ryan, who catches it in the air for an out. But then after that, they had so much immense respect for each other.
Yeah, because
they both did what they said they were going to do. You know,
man, the '80s baseball to me was just
I
was lucky to be a kid and playing baseball during that time.
Yes.
It was the best, and the only time you got to see it was before cable television,
right?
And I guess
TBS.
that was getting close to TBS to where you see the Braves, but we didn't have it where we were. So the only time you could see Major League Baseball was on the Saturday game of the week. Bob Costas and Vince Scully.
ABC,
and I had just VHS tapes stacked up from recording the game so I could watch them over and over.
Yeah.
It meant something because you couldn't see it all
Man,
the time.
it seemed like the only time the Astros made the Saturday game of the week was when they were playing the damn Dodgers, and it was always Fernando Valenzuela on the mound for the Dodgers, and Oral Hershiser. So there was a game a while back, and Hershiser was announcing, and I sent him a direct message through Twitter, and I was like, look, I grew up watching you annihilate my Astros every chance you got. Can you please say something positive about them? And he messages me back, and he said, as soon as they do something good, I'll say it. and I'm like, that old killer instinct in those guys, it doesn't die.
And in my era, that's when I was, as a young child, I remember coming in on Saturday afternoon to watch that game of the week because we didn't see anything.
It was a different, we were talking like this a few weeks ago with someone about how special, like as a kid, I was just fascinated by the Harlem Globetrotters.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Evel Knievel.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Globetrotters, you'd only saw them whenever they were on Wide World of Sports. Unless they toured and they would come through Little Rock. But it was a big deal to see them because you couldn't see them anytime you wanted to.
And you thought they could beat anybody.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's what I guess what I was getting at was like the internet and smartphone is like we can get anything we want at any moment. So all that mystique has gone away from everything. But as a kid, the Globetrotter, Evel Knievel,
those things were Wide World of Sports on ABC on Saturdays.
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
That poor guy coming off that
ski jump.
He caught hell.
Hey, incidentally, guys, we never get the chance to break news, and it won't break by the time this airs, but 89 years old, and Lou Holtz has just passed. That just came through.
Man.
Former Arkansas Razorback head coach Lou Holtz. And,
there's two things happen when you pass the ball.
Yeah.
Two of them are bad.
And neither of them are good.
Neither one of them are good.
Lou Holtz, one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard from him, incidentally, was, don't tell other people about your problems. Half of them are glad you have them, and the other half are glad it's not them.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
And Lou Holtz, what a class act of a guy, too.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, never wanted to leave Arkansas, but he and Frank Broyles, imagine that, someone who couldn't get along with Frank Broyles.
Imagine that.
That's a whole nother segment.
Listen,
I still have a matted poster of Lou Holtz. It was a drawing, like a cartoon almost, but him squatting down on the sideline in his plaid pants. And then I don't know where I got that from, but it's been around. I still have that.
Yeah.
But I saw him speaking, or I can't remember where this was, talking about a lesson he learned was he was booked to speak in some engagement in Chicago and flew in, got to the hotel. I had my reservations and everything. They're like, we're sorry, Mr. Holtz, we don't have a room for you. And he's like, but no, he didn't use that, I'm Lou Holtz, but it's like, I've got my reservation right here. He's like, I'm sorry, sir, there's been a mistake and we don't have a room for you. And he said, I learned a valuable lesson. I was prepared to raise 10 kinds of hell or whatever. He didn't say that. But instead, I got in a cab and went and found another hotel when I realized they have the key.
That's right.
They have the key.
Right. I can be as upset as I want, but they have the key.
Which goes to I really believe the dead horse theory.
Yeah, exactly.
When something, you got to realize when something's a dead horse, and then when it is, stop beating it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just leave it alone. But
exactly.
They had the key.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have more of Off the Back Porch right after this.
When it comes to protecting your home or business, trust the name that's been serving South Arkansas for 3 generations, Cross Roofing and Sheet Metal. From residential roofs to large commercial projects, the experienced team at Cross delivers quality you can see and reliability you can count on. Cross Roofing and Sheet Metal, built on trust, proven by results. Call Cross Roofing today. Put a solid future over your head.
Anyone can be so curious.
Get ready
ready to see the world more curiously because Blippi is coming to your hometown. The Be Like Blippi Tour. Join Blippi and Mika live on stage for a one-of-a-kind interactive adventure that inspires kids to move like, play like, and explore just like Blippi. Saturday, April 11th, the First Financial Music Hall in El Dorado. Tickets are on sale now at eldomad.com. Break out your orange Blippi glasses for an unforgettable experience that encourages kids to be like Blippi.
Serving South Arkansas for 25 years, and all the while expanding and growing throughout the state, ProMed Ambulance is proving their motto of world-class care and hometown values. For example, their new mobile integrated healthcare communications center. This state-of-the-art facility allows communication specialists to work directly with local 911 call centers to ensure the closest medical team is always dispatched to any emergency. World-class care and hometown values. For more information and career opportunities, go to ProMedAmbulance.com.
With a name you trust, you can count on us. Glen Mechanical, plumbing, heating, and air.
For over 6 decades, Glen Mechanical has been specializing in HVAC, plumbing, and all mechanical jobs. 3 generations, family-owned and operated since 1956. Glen Mechanical's business is based on relationships. They support and give back to the communities they work in. Contact them for all of your HVAC, plumbing, and mechanical needs. GlenMechanical.com.
Hey, welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer and our special guest this week, Mark Givens. Mark, again, thank you for coming and joining us.
I've had the best time. Yeah,
I'm glad.
I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad.
Good to see you after this time.
You know, I either now or after the show, there's plenty of stuff I still need to talk to you about. But I think we could be here till 10 o'clock tonight.
Oh, I know. I'm eating this up. Yeah, I love talking about this
and
stuff.
You guys retain so much knowledge about, I enjoyed it, everything y'all talking about.
Well, you did too when you were 54.
Yeah, I guess I've retained a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
Hey, I've taken enough.
I can't tell you what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can give you about every starting lineup
Handful
from the
checks.
86 baseball season.
Handful of Chex Mix. That's what I had for lunch yesterday. But don't ask me anything else other than that. So, as this is being recorded, last night was the election night for the primaries in Arkansas.
Kudos to South Arkansas Now for the
thank
coverage.
You. Thank you.
Martha and I watched it and she says, turn the TV off for a minute. Let's listen. And Tanya did a great job with you.
Oh, yeah, Tanya was great. She's fabulous.
Of course, Jax did, and then Grant Merrill, in you, obviously. But it was great coverage last night, even though I am a team member. I'm kind of the designated hitter, maybe.
Well, and JW and Elizabeth were both involved, and
team effort. Give flowers when flowers are due.
That's right. That's exactly right. But it went off well last night. But of course, when you've done this many, unless something just totally strange happens, you kind of comes back to you.
Were you aware of something that's one of the most important things we have is the hospital tax that needed to pass, and across the country. Small town hospitals are in a lot of trouble.
Have been
everywhere.
We'll talk about some of that in just a second, but I wanted to talk about one of the elections that happened last night. Not here.
Okay.
Lonoke County.
Oh, I heard this story.
Yeah.
Wait till you hear this, Mark.
Aaron Spencer.
Is this going to get weird? Like something weird happened there?
It's not weird, but it's typical. Okay, go ahead.
Aaron Spencer, the Lonoke County man who's accused of second-degree murder for killing the man who allegedly sexually assaulted his daughter,
13 years old,
and then while out on bail kidnapped her.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Spencer won the Republican nomination for sheriff this week in Lonoke County.
Shot that guy.
Wow.
And I love when you have stories like this because I like to go see what other news sources from outside the area say.
Yeah. I heard it on national news.
So here was CNN. This is a quote directly from the story they wrote. Quote, a case that has people asking, what are the legal limits for parents when it comes to protecting their child?
Yeah.
No, there's no question.
No, there is no.
If you have to ask that question, you really don't know the answer.
Yeah.
Because there's not one.
There's death. There's no legal limit.
There's no limit if to protect my child.
Your 13-year-old daughter.
Man. New York Times. Citing that he did what any good father would do, Aaron Spencer is running for sheriff in an Arkansas county where he hopes to avoid prosecution for the charge of murder. Well, now, while that may be technically accurate, what they wrote there, they're making it sound like he's running for sheriff to try to avoid prosecution. No, that's not why he ran.
That's not it, no.
He ran against an incumbent sheriff.
And won.
Mm-hmm. in a 3-man race. There wasn't even a runoff.
No.
He won.
He won it.
Now, listen to this. The San Francisco Chronicle. Here was their take.
Rice-A-Roni treats.
Quote, Lonoke County, Arkansas is one of the reddest counties in a state that is almost dominated by the color red. A county that voted for Donald Trump by 76%. So, is it any wonder that in a county that supported Trump, a vigilante who allegedly shot and killed an unarmed man in an altercation at an intersection would win the Republican Party's nomination as the chief law enforcement in the county? Did we mention the candidate Aaron Spencer is also a trained killer? He deployed over Iraq as an armed paratrooper. That's their take. I know everyone knows, but if you don't, Mr. and Miss Spencer have a daughter. She's 13 years old. She is sexually assaulted by a 64-year-old man. That man is successfully arrested, but then gets out on bail of $50,000 with a protection order not to contact this girl. Mr. Spencer and his wife are laying in bed one night. They hear the dogs, and the dogs sound different. You know how that is. You can tell when something's different with the way they're acting. So he gets up and just walking around the house. He pokes his head in his daughter's room. Windows open. She's gone. And he hears a truck pulling off. He grabs a pistol, jumps in his truck, and he goes off looking for her because someone has taken his daughter. They come up to an intersection, and he's flashing his lights, and what's his name? That the kidnapper stops, and he says that his daughter tried to jump out of the truck, and this man grabs her by the hair and yanks her back into the truck. So dude gets out like any dad would with his pistol.
4 to the chest.
And this guy's coming towards him now, and he drops him like a bad habit. Just dropped him.
Wow.
And I still do not understand how he's charged with second-degree murder.
Yeah, how did he get murder charged? That was self-defense and
protection of defense
and
of
a
others.
crime of passion.
Not necessarily a crime of passion, but in the defense of your child.
Yes, whatever you call that.
You know, so
it'd be a crime of passion. I would be very passionate at that moment.
Yeah, for your daughter or your son either.
Yeah. So So then almost a year to the day after his arrest, he announces, I'm going to run for sheriff. And if you see this guy, and I know you can't put everything into people's looks and body language, but, I've studied body language, and one of the things that I saw was the incumbent sheriff. Well, there's more to this story than y'all can't know about it. He's real smug and that whole, because I'm the police and I said so.
Yeah.
And this guy is just like, you can see it in his face. I never wanted to kill anybody. I never wanted my daughter to be sexually assaulted and kidnapped.
Yeah.
I didn't want to shoot, put 2 slugs in this guy's chest. And I never wanted to run. He even says, I never even thought about politics.
Yeah.
He said, but when I see that sexual assault, those who are committing sexual assault are treated better than the victims, he's like, damn it, I had to run.
Yeah.
And so, all around Cabot, CNN actually had a video I watched, and they had a couple people was like, damn straight, that's what should have happened, And then they have one guy, he's wringing his hands the whole time. Well, I just don't know that we should have vigilante justice, and it worries me. Well, quit being worried. The rest of us got your back. I just think congratulations to Aaron Spencer on securing the Republican nomination. I believe there is a Democrat opponent, but again, in a county that went 76% for Trump, hard to imagine him not winning that race.
Yep. How about top 3 movie sheriffs? Buford
Buford
Pusser.
T. Justice.
Walking tall.
Yeah, Buford T. Justice.
Dirty Harry.
Well, he wasn't
Was
a
he
sheriff.
a sheriff?
No, he wasn't a sheriff. He was just a.
But what was the sheriff on Burt Reynolds? Smoking the Bandit.
That wasn't Buford T. Justice?
It was Buford T.
Yeah.
Okay, there's 2.
Yeah. The third one?
I was trying to think of a third one.
On the radio.
Maybe there's not a third one.
Sheriffs don't have nothing to do
But when
with
you said sheriff a minute ago,
Well,
immediately
I was going
thought Buford
to
Pusser.
say Wyatt Earp in Tombstone, but he wasn't a sheriff. He was a federal marshal. Because Behan was the sheriff in that movie, and he was a weenie. Just trying to think of sheriffs. you said walking tall guy, right?
Yeah. Buford Pusser.
Well, and it wasn't a movie, but the series with the sheriff and.
They call me Mr. Tibbs. Talking about In the Heat of the Night.
Yeah,
with Carol O'Connor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Archie Bunker played.
Yeah, he played the sheriff. What was Evening Shade? Wasn't that the one where they had a female sheriff? Evening Shade.
I remember Evening Shade.
I don't remember
because it was set in Arkansas, right?
Yes,
at Evening Shade.
Yeah, at Evening Shade. Yeah,
I think that was a sheriff. Evening Shade.
What was the Netflix series though with the guy that's a sheriff in a western town, and it's been out this past few years. Oh my Lord.
Oh, so Evening Shade was a CBS sitcom that aired from 1990 to 94, starring Burt Reynolds as Wood Newton, a retired professional football player who returns to his small Arkansas hometown to coach the local high school's losing football team. And
it's funny, his character name was Wood Newton, who is a renowned songwriter born in Hampton, Wood Newton.
Yeah.
You know that? I never put two and two
Linda
together.
Bloodworth Thomason wrote that, and of course, she's from Arkadelphia.
Yeah.
And,
married Harry Thomason.
Yes. Yeah.
From Hampton.
And they were deeply named and involved in the Whitewater scandal, if you recall.
Yep.
And it's amazing today. I meet people, and it's been a while since this has happened, but you meet someone and you're like, and in my mind I'm like, I remember your name from the Whitewater scandal.
Yeah.
Okay, who was you see, I can't ever remember names. Who was the woman that was the wife of the lawyer that was implicated in that? She was much younger than he in the Whitewater scandal. Oh,
you're talking about
not Paula Jones.
No. It was the two lawyers.
Attractive woman.
Yes.
Not Jennifer Flowers?
No, she was from Arkadelphia too.
No, she wasn't one of the ones that.
Oh no. Yeah. Now I know a little bit.
Anyway, this
talking about Jim McDougal.
Yeah, and Susan. Jim and Susan McDougal.
Jim and Susan. Okay, I knew them.
Flashback to when we had the tea room, our restaurant. So Martha would come home at lunch, and in those days, I operated our business. So, it's post rush for the lunch rush, and a lady comes in, sits down, and they wait on her, and I look in back of the room, and so I go next door. I said, Martha, I think Susan McDougal's in our office, in our tea room. She goes, really? So she goes over there, and Martha was worked for a lawyer for 33 years, so she knew all the people and all the lawyers and everything. And she went over there and sat down with Susan, and she says she wasn't ever going to say nothing. She said she didn't want to wind up dead like the rest of them.
No, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. You used to see Jim McDougal a lot in Arkadelphia, and I was in college, just hopping around town or whatever.
Yeah.
And then working at the Coliseum in the early 90s. Paula Jones was at a lot of shows. Frank White and Sheffield Nelson would go to a lot of the shows, the country shows or whatever.
Yeah.
And so during that time, there was a cast of characters now.
Remembering the Whitewater scandal, don't forget the McDougals, former Governor Jim Guy Tucker.
Yep.
There were a host of people that were charged with felonies throughout that.
Yeah.
And of course, that and the Rose Law Firm billing scandal, those all kind of melded together. And that's where Jennifer Flowers and then Paula, what's her name, came out.
Paula Jones.
And that investigation is what eventually led to the Lewinsky incident. And finding out.
Yeah.
And
so, and it was Mrs. Clinton that said, well, if you drag you $100 through
a trailer
park, you'll come up with Paula Jones.
Yeah. Yeah.
She didn't say women like that.
Right. Yeah.
Hillary says. You'd be in jail if I was president.
What a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this brings us to the elections last night here locally. And, for 2 weeks, Boomer, I would go over to the auditorium where the early voting was happening. And I would ask people, I'd say, I want to ask you a couple of questions. Number one, I'm not even going to write your name down so your name will never be used. Two, I'm never going to ask you who you voted for. But the third thing is, I want to know who you believe is going to win in these races. And the response I got more than anything was 50-50.
On what? On anything?
Hold on. Flip a coin. That'll be the closest you'll get to predicting this. It could go either way. If someone wins, it's going to be by barely. Those were the responses I got. 95% out of everybody I talked to. And that was in 3 races. Mm-hmm. Mayor, city attorney, and the half-cent sales tax. Those were the 3 answers. Those were the answers I got on all 3 of those races all the way through.
Wow.
Now, when I asked them, who do you think is going to win circuit clerk? Tanya Allen by far and away.
Uh-huh.
Who do you think is going to win the assessor? Carrie Langley by far and away. Asked about Ward 1 position. Not one person said to me they thought Shane Calloway was going to win. But in the mayoral race, from what we were getting, it was going to be close, and it was anything but.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I mean, Paul Show just landslid into that victory, 74% of the vote.
Yeah.
And so, we employ several political consultants who help us not with just politics and covering politics, but South Arkansas Now uses them to help us with business strategy. And one guy I've known for 30-something years named Noah Blankenship. And Noah is a world-renowned political strategist out of Austin, Texas. He's worked countless U.S. Senate campaigns, congressional campaigns. He advised Presidents Bush, Obama, and Biden. And he is just, again, very well known, very well respected. And I had asked him a couple of weeks ago to go back and watch our debate. And I said, and then when the race is over, I want to call you and I want you to give me your take on why someone won or didn't. I don't want to know what you're thinking until then. And let's see if you get it right before I ever ask you.
So he doesn't know the results.
He's not going to. He wouldn't know the results. I wanted to know his answers before I told him the results.
But he had watched the debates.
He watched the debates.
Okay.
So when I talked to him this morning, the first thing he said to me was, "The hospital tax passed, didn't it?" And I was like, "Yes." And I said, and by overwhelming majority. I said it was 66-33. And I said it was, and he said, "I didn't see that. He said, I knew it was going to pass." He said, "I didn't see that coming."
The majority would vote
that
for
it would be that big of a spread. He said, "Let me guess, Rigo Robertson lost." I said, "He did." And he said, "What were the finals on that?" And I told him, and he said, "Holy cow." He said, "Okay, here's what I wrote down after watching your debate." He said, "What I wrote down was, seems like a great candidate, spending way too much time talking to people who aren't going to vote." And, looking at those numbers last night, because Rico, I thought, ran a really good campaign, but he ended with 307 votes.
Yeah, it was poor showing.
And I think Noah got it right. I think Rico spent a lot of time talking to people who were never going to vote, instead of spending time with those people who are definitely going to vote and letting them know your plan or your vision.
Yeah.
Good point.
He said, "Please tell me that Rushing won the city attorney's race." I said, "He did." And he said, "I got a lot to say on that one." And he said, "I'm an outsider looking in."
Yeah.
He said, "I'm in Austin, Texas, in my office, so I don't care what the city attorney does in El Dorado, Arkansas." He said, "But let me just tell you," he said, "the very first question set up Mr. Wolf to really take charge of that, and he failed." He said, "The first question in your debate was, you have said before that you've been voluntold to run. How do you let the voters know that you're running on your own and not someone pulling your strings?" He said he didn't deny it. He said the first words out of his mouth was, "Well, they're good people." He said, so he didn't deny that there are people pulling his strings. He said, and then I heard him say, he's going to do basically what the mayor and the city council tells him to do. And he said, now again, as an outsider looking in, he said, I was taken aback by that.
Yeah.
And he said, but not only did he say it once, he repeated it 5 more times. And he said, and then the other thing was, he said, evidently he has extensive experience running Dollar General stores. And he said, we all love the people at our Dollar General. He said, God knows I do. He said, it doesn't mean I'm going to let them babysit my kids or pastor my church or keep my city legal and in compliance. And he said, so I think those things, he said, if there was one person that got hurt the most out of that whole thing, he said, I think it would have been him.
Yeah.
And I have to agree.
Yeah.
And because Robert Rushing won with 58% of the vote. Again, Paul, 74% of the vote.
Yeah.
66% voted in favor of the hospital tax. And then there weren't any other surprises. Again, Tanya Allen, she was the leading vote getter last night, almost 2,000 votes by herself. And then
of all the races, she was the leading vote getter. Wow.
Yeah. And again, Carrie Langley won the assessor's race. There's no Democrat opponents in those, so they are essentially. And I think there's still an opportunity for an independent to jump in there. But if I'm an independent, I'm looking over there at her, and she won with 1,900, almost 2,000 votes. I'm going to be like, I don't want to run against her.
So what contested races do we have in the general election?
Well, we'll obviously have a race for mayor.
And who's running Democrat?
Andre Rux. Who's current alderman out of Ward 3. And then we have a city attorney's race, which is going to be between current city attorney Robert Rushing and then the lady who called us Europeans.
Yes.
And
I forgot she was running for that.
And I don't remember her name.
We'll have to tell
me.
You that story.
Her name escapes me right this moment. Laquita Henry, right? Thank you, JW. Laquita Henry.
Doing a great job.
She's running. And then you're going to have a contested race in Ward 2 between Lance Greer and former Mayor Veronica Smith Greer. You're going to have a contested race in Ward 1 between Jill Wineski and Janice Hicks.
Yes.
And then there's, also in Ward 2, there's an independent running as well. Nathan Rainey is running as well as an independent. And then I think in Ward 3, there's not a race. I don't know that there's a contested race in Ward 3.
Yeah.
But supposedly there will be a county judge's race on the ballot. That's not been confirmed yet, but supposedly there's going to be an independent announced to run against Michael Lofton. Save you money is all I can tell you.
Yeah, really. Don't even buy the signs.
Secondly, there's going to be a sheriff's race on the ballot.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be the race that brings out the vote.
Yeah, it will.
You have Michael Fife, who's the Republican nominee. You have Eric Meadows, who's the Democratic nominee. Both fabulous guys.
Good guys.
And they say that about each other. That's one of the things is those are two guys who have no problem being nice to or talking nice about one another.
They're going to have to differentiate themselves sooner or later.
Sooner or later they will.
In wrestling terms, if you had two baby faces wrestling each other, it'd be a scientific match.
Yes,
they're having a scientific.
Two capes versus each other. You always loved when two heels fought, because it was just get rid of them. But anyway, and there are some other races. Of course, there's going to be a U.S. Senate race in Arkansas between Tom Cotton and Hallie Schaffner. She obviously won the Democratic nomination last night.
And then didn't Tom
had a couple of opponents, but that was
it was gargantuously.
Yes, yeah. And then
before J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio showing out so much in the last year or so, Tom Cotton was probably the heir apparent to the Republican
if he wanted to be.
You don't think he wants to be?
I don't think he wants to be.
Told you that?
Well, I'm not going to reveal everything that we've talked about, but I do know that the day after Trump's election in 2024, President Trump's reelection, that there was a call made to Senator Cotton and offered him a very prestigious position in that administration. And then Senator Cotton said, I'm happy doing what I do for the people of Arkansas.
So he likes middle management. Just being on some committees and stuff.
Well, not just on some committees.
Well,
though.
I know. But
Senate Intelligence Committee, he's the ranking member.
I understand. I was making light.
I know. It's like, so we were talking the other day, and a group of us talking in a group text, JW and Jax and Elizabeth and me and Grant, and I don't remember who all was involved in it, and someone said there, well,
y'all just knew I wouldn't understand what y'all were talking about.
It didn't involve you. That's
Okay.
why.
No. Well, I have the sign. It says it's all about me.
Yeah.
Had it on my desk.
Someone said something about, well, you know who that is? That's my business partner that Trump had to pardon. And I said, well, I don't have any cool stories like Trump had to pardon my business partner.
Yeah.
I said, but I do have the personal cell phone of the ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Foreign Intelligence Committee, and he answers when I call.
Yeah,
So,
he picks up. He picks up.
You know, one of the greatest moments in my adult life was a Saturday night. I'm standing in my backyard. I got on like either a sleeveless shirt or a tank top and a pair of shorts. I'm cooking a brisket. It's 10 o'clock at night, and my phone rings, and I look down, and it's Mike Ross, Congressman Mike Ross, and I'm like, Congressman? And he's like, hey, Sandy, man, I'm fixing to go into this committee meeting, blah, 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 blah. And we talked for a few minutes, and I was like, yeah, man, I got your back. Don't worry about it. No problem there. And I said, but hey, Mike, let me just say this. Thank you. He said, for what? And I said, well, number one, for what you do for your constituents. But number two, I often thought I might want to run for Congress one day. He said, you should, Sandy. It's a great job. You would be a great congressman. I said, no. I said, it's Saturday night. It's 10 o'clock here, which means it's 11 o'clock
in
there.
D.C.
Right.
I'm in my backyard enjoying adult beverage and cooking a brisket. You're calling me for cover. I'm good. Thanks.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. Well, I've told Fro, even local elections, more than 20 years ago, I was asked to run for our ward, and then they let me off. I said, good. I said, but you know what? Even for that, there's a lot of stuff in my past I don't want anybody to know about.
That's
I've
right.
asked God for forgiveness, but, they might not forgive me.
Well, it was like there was a group that come to me one time when I was still at the radio station, and they sit in my office and said, we wanted to talk to you about running for mayor. I was like, man, I've lived in El Dorado 5 years. I can't run for mayor.
Yeah.
And I'm not from here. And they said, well, neither is Troy Berrios, but we thought about asking him. I said, well, he would be a great one. He's been here 20 years.
I don't know what took you so long.
He would be a great mayor. And,
I'm too hot-headed to be in.
I told him, I can't take the pay cut.
Yeah, that was the pay cut thing.
And they said,
well, it's pays
it pays $70,000 a year. I said, I know what it pays.
Yeah.
And a car, I said, I got a car.
Yeah, and a car.
And
does it have a house with it too?
He said,
like the preacher?
I guess I just didn't realize that talking on the radio made that much. And I looked at him, I said, you arrogant prick.
Yeah.
I said, you the only person in town thinks you make six figures? And I said, talking on the radio, I make $0 for that. I pay myself
all of us made
$0 for that.
Yeah.
I said, that's the fun part of my job.
Yeah. You do that for free.
I said, I am vice president of a multimedia corporation across 3 states with hundreds of employees. That's why I make what I make.
Yeah.
We are grandfathered in legally on how many radio stations we can own. I spend 90% of my day being the corporate attorney, making sure we stay legal.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Because we have some more than you should.
Yeah. And so I was like, dude, get out of my office.
Yeah. I understand.
And so it took them another 15, 16 years to come back and ask me again. And answer was still the same. I don't want to run.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the pay this time. I was just like,
well, and I just don't want, at my age, I don't want the worry or the bother. Like Mike Ross at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. 11 o'clock on Saturday night, unless there's a football game in overtime, I'm asleep.
Yeah, unless LSU's playing USC and it's over in overtime. Yeah.
It ain't business time then.
It's not business time. Yep.
Yeah, you may not want my answer at 11 o'clock on Saturday night.
You're not going to like it.
Yeah. But as far as the elections last night, I think the only real surprise to me was just the overall shellacking in the mayor's race.
Yeah.
I think that was the one that jumped out at me.
I thought Rico was going to show better. But
I did too.
Obviously your consultant saw the writing on the wall.
He saw something that I didn't. I didn't see that. And again, I may have been a little swayed by the people we were talking to, but I'm telling you, JW was out there when I was talking to people in front of the auditorium. I'd stop by every day.
And they give 50-50 answers.
And that everywhere I went. JW, did you get him any different answer than 50-50? Yeah, and that was the other thing, was there was expected to be a real push among young people. for Rico. The other thing was, there were some meetings being held where they were like, I remember some people saying to me, well, Rico's out there courting Democrats. He's over in Ward 3, and he's going to get them to come over and vote in the Republican primary because they can vote whoever they want to in the general. Mm-hmm. And I told them, I said, nothing against that demographic, but they rarely vote in their own primary. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're sure not going to jump over into a Republican primary. Yep. I said, you might be looking at 50 votes. You know how many votes came out of Ward 3 last night in the Republican primary? 47.
Really?
47.
Well, and Rico had to explain some things out of his past. And,
he did.
And being fired from the police station and all that. And his explanation sounded good.
His explanation was fantastic,
but
in my opinion.
You're still fighting against that. All the time that he spent right there in that chair explaining that story and how, he should be innocent of all that was all the time that he could have been talking about what he wants to do. And
yes.
So if you,
that's true.
And that's the strategy that a lot of, elections make your opponent answer for what he's done in the past. That way he can't talk about what he's going to do in the future.
Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always buy a copy for my salespeople. And
I got one on my desk upstairs still. And I want to tell you who else has one. That's the one Donald John Quavius Trump. Yeah. I know he knows that.
Yeah. And so there was one time years ago that we had pulled off somewhat of a coup in our radio business. And I won't get into it because it would hurt feelings, and I don't want to hurt feelings. But there were people who said, Sandy, you'll never pull that off. And I'm like, hold my beer and watch this. Mm-hmm. And it took about a year, and it happened. And I sent an email out company-wide congratulating and thanking my employees for their trust in me. Because, listen, it took some of them guys had to have my back during this year. There could be no infighting. Mm-hmm. There could be no internal squabbling. Even though they didn't know what I was doing, they knew what my overall purpose was, and they had to trust me, and they did. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you something. As an employer, there's not a better feeling than
when
they may not like
behind you. Yeah.
They may not like what I'm doing, but they know that there's a method to my madness. And if I fail, they'll know that I failed because I was trying, not from neglect. Mm-hmm. So it took almost a year. It all comes to fruition. I sent out an email, and I'm like, as Sun Tzu says, convince your enemy that the battle is in the mountain, and while they're gone, take over their valley. Mm-hmm. And this guy sends me an email back, reply all to everyone in the company, and says, yeah, well, the Bible says that if you find your neighbor with his ox in the ditch, you should stop and help him out. And I said, well, you know what? Those people that we took out, if I ever see them broke down on the side of the road with their ox in a ditch, I'll help them. But it was an us or them thing, and you can't play nice with your enemy in those instances.
Yeah, I was just trying to be a smart ass.
Yeah, it worked.
Well, the old saying about if you're on a witch hunt, focus on the witch.
Yes.
Instead of spreading yourself so thin by slinging on everyone.
That's right.
Keep your focus on what.
And Mark, you know this from personal experience. I made thousands of mistakes in business, and especially when you're younger. Especially when you're younger, and I made so many errors, and there were so many times that I was being led. And I knew I was being led, and I knew that there were people who didn't have my best interest at heart. Mm-hmm. But I had to have their best interest at heart, so I had to do what they said for me to do. And there have been, that's cost me friendships over the years. That's cost me relationships with people. And those are some of the things I look back on, and I'm like, would it really have been the end of the world had I just acquiesced? Mm-hmm. But that was not what I was told to do.
Yep.
And that's not what I was instructed nor allowed to do. And
in business, there's some things you got to just eat crow.
Well, when we were talking off camera a while ago, a lot of people don't realize how many moving parts, how many people are in your ear, how many plates you're having to juggle in the air. Mm-hmm.
Trying and the whole time you can't let them see you sweat.
No, and yeah.
I was never one of those guys that would go into a staff meeting, for example, and say, well, guys, I hate it, but corporate said.
Yeah.
I was never one of those guys, and here's why. It's hard for your people to respect you if you're constantly saying, I have no say-so.
Yeah.
Corporate said. Mm-hmm. So if corporate told me this is what we want you to do, guess what? I just did it. Mm-hmm. And when someone said, well, this come from corporate, it's coming from me. Mm-hmm. And if I need to answer corporate, I will. Mm-hmm. Now, there were times where I did just make decisions, and I did have to go answer to corporate, and they're like, what the hell were you thinking?
Just like in business, I was talking to one of my daughters earlier this week, and I said, when in your life that you realized that your parents actually didn't know what they were doing when you were little? Exactly. She says, here in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I said, so when you're little, when you're, say, under 10 maybe, and maybe sometimes up to 13, depending on the kid, you think your parents are the supreme authority.
They know everything.
They know everything, and they don't make mistakes. And if Daddy says this, it's just he's doing that.
Might as well be written in red in the New Testament.
They didn't know that we were spitballing it,
Yeah.
And so she said, well, I can't say, Daddy, that I knew what I was doing either. I said, well, join the club, baby, because that's the way it is in business even.
Yeah.
We go to seminars and we try to learn, but a lot of the times you're just having to make on-the-fly decisions about,
Well, I think that's just humans. I mean, we're just look at in the school system, you're 60% above, C is average. Okay, are you having a C day? Mm-hmm. I think I had a C day yesterday, or something. There's a lot of D days. There's an occasional A plus moment, but C's average. Look at baseball. You're successful if you're
batting 300.
If you're successful 30% of the time, you're an all-star. We're so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And
we
hard
had
on
that conversation earlier. There is no one who deceives themselves more than us.
We did. Yeah. Well, our brain lies to us constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've studied a lot on human psychology over the past 5 years. You name it. I went down so many rabbit holes, but it is true that
that's because the fall of man. That we're like that.
Yeah.
True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We question ourselves. We question others, and I have learned too. It took 54 years that if you have to question your belonging, then you have your answer. You already have your answer.
That's
if you belong with a certain person. And the secret to a happy ending is knowing when to roll the credits. That's right. Is knowing when to roll the credits.
Yeah.
So many times I hung in there when I knew it early on.
Yep. Yeah.
Should have pulled the plug, but so hindsight.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, that hindsight, it's something, isn't it? It's amazing how smart hindsight is.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that guy who hits behind me when I'm playing golf. If I hit a bad shot and drop another ball and hit it, man, that guy's good.
Yeah, that guy that hits that mulligan is always good.
The guy who hits that mulligan is fabulous. But that first guy, not so much.
He doesn't do well under tension, under stress.
Let's take a break. How about that?
All right,
we're going to take a break. We will come back with more of Off the Back Porch right after this.
32 years ago, a young Robert Rushing began his life of public service joining the El Dorado Fire Department. While saving lives during the day, Robert Rushing put himself through college and law school at night, eventually opening a law practice in 2010 to protect and serve the rights of people in South Arkansas. By the way, he was still working as a fireman at the time. And after 23 years of service, Robert Rushing answered the call again and was elected as city attorney. Today, Robert Rushing still has that desire to serve. Re-elect Robert Rushing as El Dorado city attorney.
So you guys are just like State Farm, right?
We barely cover boats by the dock.
Why barely?
You get what you pay for. Our bike coverage leaves out a lot.
I don't have a bike.
Can we just get some momentum on the song? Oh, I'm going. There's damage to your home on this block. Whoa. We won't make things right, cause filing a claim is tough.
Can't I just do it in an app or call an agent?
No luck. Here comes the best part. Whoa! We're halfway there. Whoa! You're living on a prayer. Oh, my bungee.
Should have gone with State Farm.
When it comes to your family's financial future, peace of mind matters. At Harrison Financial Management, they are right here to help you plan, grow, and protect what matters most. Whether you're planning for retirement, investing wisely, or securing your family's future, they will guide you every step of the way. Harrison Financial Management, your future, their commitment.
Bad things happen, and of course, they never happen at the right time. Maybe it's just a little bump and cosmetic damage, or it's turned into a huge insurance claim and you just don't know where to go next. That's why so many of your neighbors and friends call on Cook's Body Shop in El Dorado. From the minor to the major, Cook's Body Shop is in your corner. Need someone to help you deal with insurance? Look to Cook's. Need advice on what to do next? Look to Cook's. Need a free estimate? Look to Cook's. Bad things are going to happen, and when they do, look to Cook's.
Rated the #1 course in Arkansas by Golf Week, Mystic Creek is truly a hidden gem, complemented by a modern clubhouse, complete with panoramic views. It also features a fully stocked pro shop and Mystic Grill, serving contemporary American cuisine and Southern classics. Mystic Creek promises an unforgettable experience.
Hey, welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer, and our special guest this week, Mark Givens. Mark, again, thanks for being here with us today. Mark, you ever get songs stuck in your head?
Non-stop.
Yeah, I know.
Non-stop.
Me too. And, you know, this is how I tell, when people tell me the world's not fair, I say, oh, I know. Because there's no one who loves more music in just about any kind of music, okay? From jazz to big band to gangster rap to country to metal to I love it. I love it all. I appreciate talent. No one who loves music more than me, and I can't sing a lick. I can't play an instrument. I have zero talent in any of those things. I can't even write a song, but I love it so much, you know. But songs get stuck in my head all the time. So when I was in high school, I'm working at the Coca-Cola plant, and one of the best jobs to get at the Coke plant was to be in the ice room, where we bagged ice. We also sold bagged ice. And because no one really wanted that job, if you took that job, they're never going to fire you because no one else wants it.
Yeah.
So I took that job, taught myself how to bag the ice.
Stability.
That's right. That's right. Because I was in danger of losing my job because the plant manager's son and I had gotten into a fist fight the week before.
Okay.
And I definitely beat his ass. You know? I was 16, he was 26.
Really?
Yeah, but he had that ass whooping coming. But anyway, a year or two later, I don't remember how long it was, but I'm in there and I'm bagging ice, and all of a sudden this song is stuck in my head, and I know every word to it, but I'm like, how do I know every word? I've never heard this song in my life. And so that evening I'm at home and we're sitting at the dinner table, and I said something to my grandmother, to Mama. I said, this song's been stuck in my head all day, and I start reciting it. And I said, I've never heard this song in my life. And she was like, what are you talking about? She said, when you were a baby and your mom and dad would bring you to me, that's the song I would sing you to put you to sleep.
Oh, my word.
And it was Silver Wings. Oh. And, of course, popularized by Merle Haggard.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it was an old story from World War II.
Okay.
That, you know, don't take him away,
Right.
you know, and all that.
Don't take that airplane ride.
Yeah, don't take that airplane ride. I said, well, then there's another one. And I said, it's been stuck in my head, too.
Something about Compton?
No. I said, and I don't remember ever hearing
screw around and get a triple-double?
ever hearing this song in my life. And I start telling her, I said, I can't remember what it's called, but she was waltzing with her darling, and then her friend come along and takes her man, and now, you know, and she was like, Tennessee Waltz? And I was like, yeah, that's it. And she was like, yeah, yet again, another song I sang to you your entire infancy.
And you retain that as an adult.
As an adult. So now when songs get stuck in my head, I'm like, okay, am I remembering this for some reason?
Well, I'm real surprised being a Houston kid that it was Tennessee Waltz rather than Waltz Across Texas.
Yeah, well, I knew that song. Yeah. I knew that song very well. Yeah. Matter of fact, there was a couple that went to our church there.
Oh, I got you. The other one was
Yeah, in Houston, and his last name was Tubbs, and he was Ernest Tubbs' nephew. His dad and Ernest Tubbs are brothers. So one day I'm in O'Reilly Auto Parts here in town, and they're pretty busy, and so I've got whatever it is I'm needing, and I'm just standing there. And there's a real young black lady. She's up at the counter, and she has two small boys, and they appear to be twins. And they're just being boys, you know. They'd run off, and she'd be like, hey, back over here. And so they'd hustle back over there to her. Within a minute or two, now they're taking the air fresheners off, and they're like, hey, smell this one. And, you know, they're just being boys. And again, they're probably 6, 7 years old. And every time they wander off a little further before she realized, because she's having this intense discussion about what this park costs and what all she needs to do. And, every now and then I'd spot them and they're giggling and laughing and all. And she'd get back over here and they'd run back to her. And then they'd run off again. And every time they get further and further away. And so at one point she looks around, she don't see either one of them. She says, "Boys, y'all about to make me lose my mind." And from this aisle, a couple aisles over, you can't even see.
Lose my mind.
You hear a little boy's voice say, "Up in here,
up in here."
Yeah. And everyone in O'Reilly's just bust out laughing. Well, that scared those two boys so much they ran to her. They never left her side again. But that was up in here. So I wrote that down. Then when I was a kid and we'd go to church, and I didn't know any of those church songs. I didn't know how to read yet. I was like 2.5, 3 years old. I didn't know those songs. So I would just sing Rhinestone Cowboy to whatever they were singing,
What a great song.
They're singing Victory in Jesus, but I'm be like
a rhinestone cowboy
with a dollar tucked inside my shoe.
It deserves to be in a hymn book.
It does.
It does.
And then here's another memory that I think you'll appreciate, Mark. Boomer, years ago, we were doing the dual state tournament on the radio. And as you well know, we're covering 75, 80 games over 5 or 6 days. And it's just, you're reaching out and grabbing everybody you can to come do games. And Mark was gracious enough to do 5 or 6 of those games with us. And
did James Anderson game.
Did you really?
Yes. Yeah, sure did.
So I'm on my way to go. Steve Harrell's been there doing maybe 3 or 4 games, and I'm going to relieve him, and I'm going to cover the rest of the night. And Mark's going to do the first couple games with me, I guess, and maybe it was all that was left. But anyway, the game starts, and we had Belle Biv DeVoe over there in his NASCAR jacket. Do you remember that? There was a young kid over there, had on a NASCAR jacket, and not the demographic at all.
Yeah.
And so he and I had a good laugh about that. But at one point, they passed the ball to this kid, and I'm like, Kendrick goes up for the shot, and Mark says, "So, is that how you say that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And he said, "Well, the whole last game," he said, "Steve was calling him Lake and Derrick."
Oh, I do remember that now.
And so every now and then, I'll just text Steve Harrell out of the blue.
Lake and Derrick.
And I'll just say Lake and Derrick, and he'll send me back up.
Yeah, yeah. Give you the high sign.
Yeah.
I do remember that. No, that was, yes, I got to call while James Anderson was playing. He was a beast.
Imagine that. But in high school.
I hadn't thought about that in so long. But that tournament, that was a lot. That was a lot of basketball. It was huge.
That was a lot of basketball back then.
And they would just jam. I don't know if it was just because of James that year and how excited everyone was for him, but I just remember it was wall to wall.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But I'll say this, I don't remember a time where it wasn't like that at Dual State.
That was the only time I'd ever been.
It was like that.
Yeah.
Lasted.
And again, they're pulling in teams from all across. We had teams from South Louisiana coming up and playing in that, and teams from Northwest Arkansas coming down and playing in that. I mean, that was always...
It was a prestigious tournament for a lot of years.
To get an invite to that, it was, it was the Nike invite before the Nike invite was ever even thought of. It was the Nike Invitational.
What was the one in Pine Bluff? Something Cotton Belts?
The King Cotton Classic.
Yeah. Of course, my favorite was I was covering a group of games in Shreveport for the Shreveport Times Invitational, and this particular game was Booker T. Washington
in the MGs
versus Byrd High School.
That's been a great game.
Versus Byrd High School.
Wow.
And I have no dog in the hunt. I'm just doing radio play-by-play, right? And so there's this kid that evidently wasn't allowed to start for some violation of team rules or whatever. So his coach waits until the second period to bring him in. And when he comes in, that place went wild. I mean...
Fan favorite.
Yeah. And they're chanting and they're, and of course, first rattle out of the box, man, this kid comes in, he drains like 2 threes in a row, steals a ball, slams it home. He's sitting there with 8 or 9 points just that quick in the game. It gets to halftime. Just before halftime, there's this little kid standing over here to my right up against the rail in the press area where he's not supposed to be, but no one say anything. But he's right up against the rail, and every time this boy, number 11, got the ball, this little kid be like, "Shoot the ball, Daddy!" And I'm like, So at halftime, this little boy walks over to me and says, "Mister, is you still on the radio?" And I said, "Well, we're in a commercial break right now." He said, "How many parents my daddy got?" I said, well, which one's your daddy? Number 11? And I looked down there and said, well, he's got 15 points or whatever it was. And I said, how old are you? And he said, 5. I looked on the sheet. Number 11 is a junior.
He was experienced.
He was 16 with a 5-year-old.
He was experienced. He had a lot of experience for a junior.
And I'm like, holy cow.
Wow.
You know, so those are, you know, Stromile Swift. Do you remember Stromile Swift?
Sure.
He was in that tournament.
I was recruiting, well, I was Arkansas State. I was recruiting a tournament. I think it was, I can't remember if it was the Whataburger Classic or Dr. Pepper, whatever, in Fort Worth. And I saw Rashard Lewis play in high school. I'd never seen anybody like that. Now, I saw Jason Kidd play in the King Cotton Classic years before, but I saw Rashard Lewis, and then James Anderson was close. Now, Rashard Lewis was playing against more competition than what James was, but it was, I saw a couple, and James Anderson was one of them.
And, of course, you know, and we have the landlord, Daniel Gafford.
Oh, sure.
Dan Gafford, man, he is... You know, he has turned into when the Mavericks traded for him, I wondered, are they really thinking long term? Because if they are, I can see where they're going. If they're not, then I don't know what they're doing.
Well, let me say, because I've been a Dallas Maverick
I know, you've been a Mav fan forever.
Since the late 80s. And so and I'd been saying for a couple of years, I was like, man, I really wish we'd pick up Dan Gafford. And then when we got Gafford and P.J. Washington at the same time. Here's the thing about guys like Gafford, and there's a bunch of them, not lumping him in, but there's a bunch of those centers that are just on the cusp, but Luka Doncic will make them look like an all-star.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Gafford. And then when they did that and got rid of Luke.
What was on their mind there?
You know, I got
theories. Traded to the Lakers that same night. You know how hard it is watching every LA Laker game with a 9:30 tip-off?
Yeah.
Compared to now. But you notice Dan's numbers have good. Now, he's been injured a lot for the Mavericks. And I still love the Mavs, but especially now they got rid of Nico and traded Anthony Davis. But Gafford, I would like to see down the road him back with Luka. And you're kind of seeing the same thing with Jackson Hayes and the Lakers. You're seeing a guy that they were kind of, well, it's not, but with Luka, you're going to get so many, your field goal percent, you're going to get so many lobs. And the thing with Gafford playing with the Mavs, the only thing they wanted him to do was really the only thing he excels at was running the rim and blocking shots. He didn't have to put up all these numbers and all that. But talk about, do you remember when I had the Harlem Globetrotters the first time at Wildcat Arena? So the thing was sold out that afternoon. So as soon as we couldn't set up for the Globetrotters until after the Wildcats got through with their basketball practice. And I just remember it because Gafford, of course, my daughter was in the band, a lot younger, but Gafford was in the band too. He's just a good kid.
Yeah.
And he hung around to be around the Harlem Globetrotters that day. And I wish I would have got some pictures of that or whatever. But when when Dallas got him, I was just so excited.
So much better than the Bulls, you know. Now, Jax had gotten the two of us tickets to go see Daniel with the Bulls in Houston playing the Rockets. And, of course, that was COVID year, and so they cut the season off, and it didn't happen.
Went to the bubble.
But Jax did get to go to the NBA Finals the year the Mavs won. And he went to an NBA Finals game and got to see Daniel. Of course, they graduated together. And
okay. Yeah, I didn't put.
Yeah. So they graduated the same year, and they were kind of buddies through junior high and high school. And so it's really cool, you know, young man from here who's done well and comes back to town and does good things. And if I remember right, I think I remember reading that he recently attended a Hakeem Olajuwon camp.
Really?
For defense, which, by the way,
the dream.
The dream shake, man.
Have you seen the TikTok, all the videos of Vernon Maxwell talking about his?
Yes.
That is the funniest thing to me.
Yeah. And, you know, Hakeem was so religious.
Yeah.
And he didn't take any crap off of Vernon Maxwell.
He was unbelievable. I remember him in college. I tell you what, Phi Slamma Jamma, when I was a kid, South Arkansas, you bled Arkansas Razorbacks. the Houston Cougars were so popular, Phi Slamma Jamma, that in the Sears catalog, Christmas catalog that year, whatever year that was,
sheets,
you
83.
could buy a indoor basketball goal for your bedroom with Phi Slamma Jamma on it. And I remember I got one, but my folks were not happy about it. But that's how, back then, that's how popular they were.
Well, and you know, one of those members of the Phi Slamma Jam was from Bernice.
Was it Alvin Franklin? I'm trying to think of their. Okay,
Brown.
there was Olajuwon, there was Larry Mishaw, there was Clyde Drexler,
Clyde the Glide, baby.
There was Reed Geddes, Alvin Gentry, not Alvin Gentry.
They called him the Brown Bomber. Not Joe Louis, but you know.
No, but he went missing for years. Did you know that?
Yes.
I can't remember how that story
ended.
ended.
Moving off to, they found him somewhere in like Canada or Seattle.
There was an interesting story.
There was a lot more to it than that. I do remember reading that, but you know, those just you think about that Phi Slamma Jamma team. Of course, Arkansas beat them.
Yep. Sure did.
That year, 83.
Can you imagine Clyde Drexler and all those people?
Man, it was okay. So put it like this:
team.
when Clyde Drexler rejoined Hakeem Olajuwon on the Rockets, they won 2 back-to-back NBA championships. You know,
right?
Now, beating the Knicks, Patrick Ewing and the Knicks, which the NBA did not want.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted New York to win that championship.
They always want New York. It just had never happened.
But then the next year, it kind of was a fluke because they ended up in a playoff games against a championship game against the Orlando Magic, and of course, you know, that's where the term hack-a-shack came from. Because if you wanted to beat the Magic, all you had to do was keep hacking Shaquille O'Neal. He couldn't hit a free throw.
Yeah,
you know, and
God, those Knicks teams from the '90s with Ewing, and then of course the Rockets.
And of course, that's the 2 years that they won were the 2 years Michael Jordan was missing.
Right.
From the NBA, so there's always that.
There was the
asterisk.
window, that was the window.
But I'm just telling you with Clyde and Olajuwon, because I'll say this: they're the only duo I know of to combine for 40 points each, 10 steals, 10 blocks each, and 10 assists and 10 rebounds each in 2 games back to back. And they were dominant.
And tying in the Southwest Conference and with the NBA, this is during that era, my good buddy Dennis Nutt, who I was with Arkansas State with, we were both on the assistants for Dickey his first 2 years. You know, he played for the Mavericks in the late 80s. He didn't get drafted, but he signed with the Mavericks. That's when I became a Dallas Maverick fan because I knew his dad so well, Houston Nutt Sr. Arkansas didn't recruit Dennis. Eddie Sutton did not give them the time of day. He went to TCU, was all Southwest Conference. On those all Southwest Conference was Dennis, Olajuwon, and you know, it was years later when I was at Arkansas State in 95, 96. We played a home-and-home series to Oklahoma State. So when they came to Jonesboro, that was Eddie Sutton's first trip back to Arkansas after he left the Razorbacks and didn't recruit Dennis. Well, I didn't realize the heat involved with their dad, Houston Nutt Sr., who was at all of our games.
Okay.
And that afternoon or that evening before the game, doors are open during warm-ups or whatever, Eddie walks onto the court. You know, Houston is back behind the bench or whatever, and he just starts chirping at it.
Really?
And then we beat them on a last-second shot. Yeah, we were not very good, and they wasn't great, but it was Oklahoma State, and it was Eddie Sutton.
Yeah.
There was still heat because Eddie Sutton didn't recruit Dennis. And so even after all those years or whatever, but those Southwest Conference teams, aside from Houston, I think there was Bubba Jennings played at Texas Tech. Dennis was at TCU. Ricky Pierce was at Rice.
Yep.
Arkansas, Joe Klein, and I guess Darrell Walker before. That was a few years after Sydney and the triplets and all that. But what a golden era.
It was a golden era of basketball. And, you know, it's funny you say that because it reminded me of when James Anderson announced where he was going to go to college. You know, they had a big to-do there in Junction, and we went and we covered it live. And he said, I'm going to Oklahoma State, and gave his reasoning and all. And that afternoon on Drive Time Sports, which we were an affiliate, we carried on 93.3 The Eagle, Rick Schaefer says, Well, I had a source who was there, and he said that James Anderson never spoke. His coach come out and said, "Thank y'all for coming. He's going to Oklahoma State. There'll be no questions." And that was the end of it. Well, my phone starts blowing up. We had a guy come in the front door of the radio station, said, "Where's Rick Schaefer? I'm here to whip his ass." I'm like, dude, he's not here, you know.
Yeah.
And there were people pissed. So I text Randy Rainwater. This is back in the days of flip phones, I think. I text Randy Rainwater. I said, "Hey, man, Rick has my audience pissed because that's nothing how this went down." I said, "I have the audio. I can send it to you." And he says, "Hey, call me on this line." He said, "That's the newsmaker line." He said, "You won't have to sit in line. You won't get a busy signal." And so I called, and he says, "Now we're going to go down to our affiliate in El Dorado, Sandy Sanford. Sandy, y'all were there today at the James Anderson." "Yeah." And I said, "None of what was described is what happened." I said, "He came out, he spoke very, very positively about the schools that come to visit him." Because if you recall, I mean, Duke, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they were all, you know, showing up. Tennessee, all of them were showing up. And he spoke about them. And I said, then he ultimately said he was going to Oklahoma State. And Rick said, "Well, I stick by my source." I said, "Then that makes you an idiot." And that's probably the next to the last conversation I ever had with Rick Schaefer.
Yeah,
he is an idiot.
And so that was, you know, "Well, I stick by my source." Well, your source was wrong.
It was wrong.
100%.
Yeah.
I had audio and I offered to give it to him to prove that. you
Right.
know. Of course, radio's so fun because there people would show up wanting to talk to that guy that was just on the radio. You know,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I had to tell people that Rush Limbaugh's not here. You
Right.
can't- you can't-
Oh, yeah.
You can't come
Yeah.
meet him. You know,
Yeah.
or beat him up or whatever it is you wanted to do.
Right.
Had a drunk guy show up in the studio one day. I'm in my office. I'm on the phone with our corporate office, and the person on the phone with says, "What is that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I kind of peek out my door, and I said, "Call the police," and I hung up. And I get up front just in time for this drunk guy to drop the N-word to one of my black employees. And I jumped into this guy's way bigger than me. I don't know what I was thinking. I jumped in between them, and I went to pulling this guy outside, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "You can't be in my building anymore."
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, "Well, I had a friend who died in Vietnam, and that fellow on the radio just said," and I was like, "Look, I don't know what you're talking about, but you can't be in my building anymore."
Let me explain how radio works these days.
Right.
Yeah.
And so about then the cops pull up, and he's like, "You called the law on me?" I was like, "Yes, I did, and you got to go." And so they came up, no trespassing. You know,
Yeah.
he couldn't come
That's
back.
when we started locking the doors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
We'd lock the front door.
Just because you're not paranoid don't mean they ain't after you.
Radio's weird, man, because people, they think, and it used to infuriate my kids. My kids were used to the fact that they were going to have no personal life, that I'm going to tell all the little stories, and they got used to that. But what they cannot stand, and even to this day, is for someone to say, "Oh, I know your dad." And Cam especially, he'll be like, "You may know who my dad is.
Right.
You may know something he said on the radio, but you don't know him."
Yeah.
And that's always been their thing, is like, you don't really know our dad, and that'll upset them quicker than anything. They're very protective of me.
Right.
You know, so, and thank God for it. That's what your kids do.
As they should be. Yeah.
Yeah, they take care of us.
100%.
They protect us. Hey, real quick before we go on here, I wrote this down: lies we believed in the 80s.
Okay.
Well, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah,
There's a
Boomer,
bunch
this
of
is-
them.
This is your generation's fault. Mark and I are still going to see counselors.
Y'all are young in the 80s.
And so
All that
traumatized.
rice. And the moon. What, you
That
know,
moon landing
the
thing?
moon, yeah.
Lies we believed in the 80s. Killer bees were coming and we're going to kill everyone on the continent.
Yeah, we thought they would get here from Africa.
They were going to come and everyone was going to die.
Yeah.
Be no time at all.
Yeah.
And stop, drop, and roll, teaching us that
Catching on fire.
teaching us so much that we expected just to catch on fire at any moment.
Spontaneous combustion
Well, but it was
possibly
like
real.
every single year in school they taught us stop, drop, and roll, and I'm like, hey, what is the propensity for catching on fire? Quicksand.
Yeah.
We were led to believe that quicksand was lurking around every corner, just waiting for the next
I have
11-year-old to
yet-
walk through.
This
I've
is
never
one more
found it.
day in 54 years. I have yet to encounter
Well, you didn't
Now,
watch
the day's not over.
quicksand.
You
But
didn't watch
it's not
Tarzan
over.
enough. Tarzan and them, they was always encountering.
Oh, I've
quicksand.
seen it. I've just never personally stumbled upon it like, shit.
Yeah, here's
Quicksand.
some quicksand.
Lies
Here we
that
go.
we were told in the 80s. Drug pushers were going to harass us all the way home. It never happened to me. When I got to the age where I wanted to buy drugs, I had to go into a shady part of town to find someone who's willing to sell them to me. And not once did they ever offer it to me for free.
Yeah.
Because, that was the thing on those TV
They'll
commercials.
give you free.
They
It
give it to
wasn't
you free.
easy. Yeah.
And it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
I told you about we went to the house where the guy put the iron bar across the door, and I'm like, I may not. This may have been a mistake.
Yeah.
to be
That
here.
may have been from on a special episode of Different Strokes.
Yeah.
Or 48 hours.
Yeah. The first 48. Yeah. Acid rain.
I was going to say that a while ago. I remember acid rain being.
Was
being
I the only
terrified
child
of it.
who was afraid to walk when it was drizzling outside?
Well, maybe so.
Yep.
Because
And snow ice cream. I remember my grandmother making a joke, and I'm just terrified. I remember that vividly now. Thank you for bringing up the acid rain.
Acid
about
rain thing.
Eating snow ice cream was going to,
Gonna
we're gonna die.
burn you inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Acid rain.
Yeah. I try to learn a new quote every week. Just one of those things that I try to do to keep my mind sharp. And so here's my one for this week I thought I would share with y'all. The first casualty of war is the truth. Aeschylus, the Greek philosopher.
The first casualty of war is the truth.
Is the truth.
Yeah.
And a lot of wisdom in that.
There is.
Years ago when I was a kid, I say kid, I was 19, 20 years old. And I just come to the knowledge of Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And my pastor at the time encouraged me. He said, while you're still young, commit to learn a new scripture every week, verbatim. He said, start off with the easy ones. And he said, you'll be surprised how much later in life those scriptures will come back. And, he's right. To this day, there's still scriptures that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
And, like the entire 6th chapter of the book of Isaiah. I've just about memorized the entire chapter of Isaiah 6. But those are the things where today I try to learn a new quote every week, just again so I can just keep my mind sharp. And because I'll have people say, "Man, you said something the other day on the podcast." I was like, "Where did that come from?" It was probably my quote of the week I was trying to learn, and I found a chance to use it.
I learned a lot of the scriptures in the book of Hezekiah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right next to Jezekiah?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's their lesser cousin, Heza. Oh, Heza.
That's a street name.
Yeah. So, man. Mark, again, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast.
No, thank you. This has been great. I've had the best time.
I've been so excited.
I've had the best afternoon. And
since you agreed to come on, I've been so excited about it. And because
as some know, I don't have a problem running my mouth. Sometimes you got to tell me to, hey, shut up.
Well, hey,
that's enough. Well,
let me say this: you have a standing invitation. Anytime you want, if you have an event or something going on, you want help promoting it, you let us know.
Okay, thank you.
And
I'd love to.
You're more than welcome to come and be on this podcast with us. All 4 of our viewers, I'm sure.
Yeah,
all 4.
They'll love you.
No, we're very fortunate.
I love El Dorado, and I've got so many fond memories here, and so many sweet, special people, and here in Main Street Pizza, so many Friday nights with my adopted family, the Combs, and. So this has been a great day. I appreciate you thinking of me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you coming by. And Boomer, we always appreciate you being here because if you're not here, it's just not the same.
The fountain of youth. He's just drinking from the fountain of youth.
You remember them 2 weeks you were gone?
Yeah, you suffered through those.
I didn't have fun at all.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm glad. I'm glad through all my bumbling that you can still.
Buddy Hall was here and David Lee.
Now, Buddy Hall.
Buddy's great, man.
You know Buddy Hall?
I don't believe I do.
Yeah, Buddy's
he's fun.
Yeah,
he's just a regular guy.
He's a regular guy.
And that's what I love about him.
That he's real funny.
He is. He's real funny, but he's not trying to be. He's like Boomer and I. He's just lived a life where funny things happen.
Funny things. Hey, I'm going to tell you, over the years, and I think I started with you, Sandy, about 04. It was that.
I think so.
And I left in like 7 or 8.
It was after that.
At 9. Anyway,
it was. I can tell you for a fact it was after 2011. Okay. I'm not going to say how I know that, but I do know for a fact it was after 11.
So those 8 years, I can grant you more stuff happened weird to he and I traveling around the country. Mm-hmm. And we went a lot of places, went all over Arkansas and went to Houston a lot. And we
all over Texas.
And let me give you a quick story before we go. Sandy and I are sitting in a diner, the diners that were L-shaped, with the stools up next to the counter and all that, and the double doors going back to the kitchen back here. Well, we're sitting back here, okay? And so we're just minding our business, and a whole group of people come in and sit down, and it was some well-to-do black people that sat down. And the guy comes out of the kitchen looking like, I'm going to get in trouble, because he just had this look on his face.
He was so worried and stressed.
He was stressed because they were talking loud, just being natural.
They were being real loud.
They were well-to-do, and upwardly mobile, you would say. And I said, Sandy, look at this guy. I said, he is scared.
He was over wringing his hands.
He was scared.
And then he's looking at them, just watching them, and he looks over there at Boomer and me, and he goes,
And I said, Sandy, he said, y'all needs to be quiet up in here. Y'all just don't know what they's going to do to me. I mean, that was his persona.
That was the aura he gave off.
That was his persona.
It was like he was so scared.
I said, well, it was East Texas.
It was East Texas.
I've had some
maybe
close calls in East Texas.
Probably not the most racial tolerant part of the world,
right.
And
anyway,
look,
that's just one thing.
I say all the time, I grew up in Center, Texas. It's a great place to be from. I'm happy that I'm from there. The first time I took my wife there, I said, now listen, you got to understand something before we get here. It's still 1957 here, okay? And it's going to be that way. And after we're here for a little bit, you'll kind of see why I left. And not that it's a bad place or bad people, because it's not. It's fabulous, folks. A lot of my family love a lot of my friends. But it is one of the few places I've ever been in America where you still hear the open N-word openly with a hard R at the end. And I'm not used to that, And
you can go not too far from here and encounter that again.
Yes,
South or north.
Yes, you can.
And we seem to be a little more upwardly mobile, even though El Dorado's behind, probably behind the trending trends, maybe 7, 8, 10 years sometimes. But, you just don't hear that here.
But racial relations are better here.
We have good,
than they are in places like that. And so, she's there with me, and we're walking through a store, and sure enough,
heard it,
and I kind of
you cringe.
I cringed a little bit,
because it's so disrespectful.
It is, and she's like, "Hey, it's okay. I grew up in Keithville."
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I didn't think about that part. Yeah. She was like, I totally agree with you. I think that's improper, should never be used, but I've heard it,
Yeah.
And, but crazy stuff used to happen to Boomer and I all the time. And people say, well, y'all are just nutmaggers. No, I think this stuff happens around everyone. We just happen to pay attention to it.
If you pay attention to what's going on.
But my favorite comes from Camden, Arkansas.
I can only imagine.
Boomer and I have been doing a ball game one night, and it's late. We're coming back through. I don't even remember where the game was, but we're coming through Camden, and it's late.
Yeah.
And he's finally like, hey, you got to feed me at some point. You got me out here doing ball games till all hours of the night. He said, you got to feed me. So we pull into the Waffle Inn,
which is no longer there anymore.
Right.
There in Camden on the bypass. And well, evidently church just let out at some church having a revival.
With ladies in dresses and heels.
I mean packed. We happened to squeeze into a table.
A booth.
We ordered our drinks. I think it was 45 minutes before we ever saw them. All those little tickets of those orders are just all the way down that grill. And this woman walks out and looks up at that and says, I am not the one. And she yanks off her apron and she hits the front door.
Her shift's over, she said.
Brooks and done.
And I looked at Boomer and I said,
we may not eat tonight.
Does that mean we're not going to get to eat? Or?
They need a plan B.
Well, soon after that, this guy who's fresh out of the joint. Okay, he's fresh out. How do I know? His skin's still gray.
Gray looking, yeah.
His skin is gray, and he's got that twitch where he's looking over his shoulder every time he turns his back to people. Right? This guy's fresh out of prison, and
he's still a little nervous.
Yeah, he walks up there and looks at all those, and he's like, you can see he's calculating, shakes his head, and man, next thing you know, there's chickens can't lay eggs fast enough. And he's like, he's hitting that bell, and food comes flying out. Well, in this meantime, while we're waiting, there's a guy at the table behind Boomer Or no, behind me.
Behind you.
And he's inebriated.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these church ladies decides she's going to flirt/witness to him, right? And so she has a strut when she walks up. She's like, She got like this much heel hanging off the back of her high heels. And she's like, now listen, Mark, if she didn't go 300, man, I'm telling you, she didn't weigh a thing.
She was strong enough for a woman, but made for a man.
Yeah, and I told Boomer, I said, we need to find out what that dress is made of and start making tanks out of that, because you can't penetrate that. That is one strong piece of fabric, brother.
They make B-52s out of that stuff, man.
She's strutting, she got her hat on. It's not her Easter hat, but it's her hat. And she gets over there right behind me. She's like, "Baby, you should have been up unto the church with us tonight, because Pastor did rightly divide the word. I want you to know." And she's just going on and on and on, And this guy's like, yeah, but now she's flirting with him a little bit too. So, I'd be happy to let you go with me sometime if you wanted to go up under the church. And so while she's doing that, Boomer just kind of staring into space. And I'm just looking at him and I went, "Ooh." Like the spirit hit me, right? Well, when I do that, this guy jumps out of the booth and does one of these. And I'm like, "Sit your back down. What are you doing?" And he's like, "We are the only white people in here, other than that guy back there cooking."
Prison guy.
We're the only white people that do not make any sudden movements like that.
I was going for the door, brother. I didn't know. I thought you'd been shot or something.
Y'all had been moved.
Somebody got knifed. I said, maybe I thought you got hit in the back of the head. Or
messed around, got cut.
It's Friday night. No?
Yeah, I said stabbed it.
Oh, stabbed it.
Yeah. That was another one. One night we'd done a game in Little Rock and we're getting ready to eat, and so a group of us.
That's when we were going to Little Rock. I'm going to Fayetteville, I thought, and we stopped and ate breakfast. Regardless, we're at an IHOP.
We go to Long John Silver's. No, not Long John Silver. Red Lobster. We pull up a Red Lobster.
Oh, wrong story. I'm sorry.
And Stephen Gay was with us, and Stephen, God rest his soul, says, "I'm not going to eat at Red Lobster." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I don't eat seafood. I don't eat anything that swims in its own toilet." And we're all like, "We wouldn't have brought you if we'd known you were going to be a prick about this." So we're like, okay, so we go to IHOP. What does he order? Eggs. Yeah. Steve Harrell says, "You don't want to know where those come from."
But who was the first guy that said, "You know what? The next thing comes out of that chicken's butt. I think I'm going to eat it."
So our waiter walks up, and he's as sweet as they come, man. "Hello, my name is Ruben," and he had lip gloss on. He's smacking his lip. "My name is Ruben, and I will be your waiter on tonight. What can I get y'all?" And I was like, so when he comes around me, I said, "Ruben, I think I want chicken and waffles." He said, "We ain't got that." I said, "Ruben, I'm looking at your menu. Y'all got chicken. Y'all got waffles. I said, "There's got to be one brother in the kitchen back there. Can you go back there and just tell him put me together a plate of chicken and waffles?" He said, "You need to understand, there's nothing in that kitchen but Mexicans, and I don't go back there because someone will get stabbed." And I'm like, "Okay, hold on."
He said they got that point of sale stuff. He don't have to go to the kitchen.
I'm not going back in that kitchen. So I'm assuming one of his exes, Julio or somebody's back there, and he's like,
He knew his place.
I can't go see Julio. Someone will get stabbed. And I was like, "Okay, Ruben, thank you, bud." So
we're dying. We got blood running off our lips, trying not to laugh.
Bite our lips, not to laugh, and which none of them compare to Pine Bluff.
Oh no! Tell him that off the air.
Yeah, because that one
was definitely racial.
That one. We were just sure to point out to the owners of that establishment that we were not with that guy.
With us.
Yeah.
Right. He is not with us. Oh, he comes in here all the time.
That's just Bubba. That's what they say. That's just Bubba.
Yeah. He came up and when he sounded his horn, guess what it played?
Dixie.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Dukes of Hazzard. Came up in a Trans Am. Like a 70-something model Trans Am.
Yeah, with the bird on the front.
Yeah.
The Firebird.
And his front plate says Bubba. Yeah. And I know that was his because his belt said it on the back.
It matched.
Yeah. And he did. He came in there.
This before we get in trouble.
He came in there and he threw around some racial slurs, not just some, but all of them.
Remember, the secret to a happy ending is no one
to roll the
credits.
credits. You know what? That's a good point. It's time to do that. So, hey, for our special guest, Mark Gibbons, thank you again for being here for Boomer. And for all of our great sponsors, again, I can't thank you all enough. And for JW and all the people who work behind the scenes, we appreciate you being here. We will see you next time on Off the Back Porch.
With a history of being the voices you trust, this is Off the Back Porch.